Sorry, I cannot obsolete this word. Take out sir from your name.
No, please,
It
Tarun's
doesn't
fine.
come actually. It doesn't come by,
Really. I would love to call you.
No, I always say that I tell my team, but it's tough for them also. I tell them, keep telling them,
Yeah.
keep handling it.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
Very well, Vikram. All good. Waiting for the world to open up.
Absolutely.
Where are you currently based?
I'm at the campus in Karjat. So itself, in fact, I've been here since March 20th. So I haven't, as they say, done even a single day of work from home.
Rahul Singhi sir, good afternoon. Glad to see you again.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, Rahul.
Hi,
How are
Rahul.
you?
Sir, hi, good afternoon.
So among the panelists, we have Ms. Silky Jain, Mr. Tarundeep, and Vikram Shah, the moderator of the session.
Yeah, we were there in the earlier seminar.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you again.
Likewise. So how are you all?
We all are doing good, sir. We all are doing good.
So
Well,
institutions opening up now in your state?
Institutions, yeah, we have already opened. I think we opened on, I think, 15th of December. But the strike started coming after 5th of January. So approximately in school, I think we have more strength than in college right now. So we run boarding schools also. So I think that is surprisingly a better, opening up after lockdown. 70% of the kids have already joined. College, that's not the state right now.
Even in Poornima, there are around, we are resuming on 18th of January.
Okay.
And we see a lot of resistance.
Sorry to interrupt, dear all. We are going to live in 30 seconds. So I'm muting to everybody. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ASMA, short form of Adoption of Social Media in Academia, a leading community in academia, I, Chandan Anand, Vice President, InnoSub Group and ASMA, welcome you all. It's a very important day for us. We feel very privileged and honored to host such a unique event. By now, ASMA has hosted like hundreds of virtual events and webinars, every session being very unique and niche in its own way. Thus, passionately delivered many successful series of deliberations. We have reached to over 70,000 audience as our stakeholders in academia community, comprising of 500 plus private universities, deemed universities, state and open universities, 20,000 higher education, technical education, and skill education institutions, over 25,000 K-12 preschools, edtech companies, startups, and human resource community. We are continuously serving them via various facets of knowledge sharing platform. India is becoming an educational hub and is attracting more and more of global talent. The higher education model needs a digital transformation to a certain sustainable development. The intersection of education and technology offers an exciting opportunity for its growth. Educators and academicians need to leverage social media and digital technologies to enhance their academic program, grow their student community nationally as well as internationally, bolster their enrollment procedure, and meet their academic goals. Our mission in ASMA is to accelerate this movement. The journey becomes more easier with your support and encouragement. We are excited to announce yet another exciting series of Leadership Roundtable virtual deliberation presented by NoPaperForms as Higher Education Innovations 2020 Summit, supported by this has been supported by NoPaperForms only. We are really thankful and glad to NPF for considering ASMA to partner in executing this 3 months knowledge sharing series, creating an opportunity of collaboration between the corporate and academia. We all are aware that NPF is known as one of the India's largest enrollment automation platform. NoPaperForms presents today's Founder Summit as the first edition of this series of Higher Education Innovation Summit. The talk will be on the topic leveraging technology to maximize marketing and admissions output. The event will examine how higher education leaders are driving the adoption of technology, not only to offer innovative solutions in admission process, but to build up their brand as well. This virtual knowledge sharing interaction will explore how digital marketing, social media, and emerging newest technology can harness to change the face of education, and how these leading educational institutions have adopted the new age education and digital transformation in the new normal. We are thrilled to inform everyone that webinar got an overwhelming response and participation from across the globe. We are glad to have your participation as listeners, attendees, speakers, and partners. We are really, really thankful to all of you. In today's panel discussion, just let me name out the panelists for the day. We have Mr. Sanjay Padode, President and Chairman, Vijaybhoomi University, Mumbai; Joutishman Dutta, Managing Trustee, Assam Downtown University; Ms. Silky Jain Marwah, Executive Director, Tula's Institute, Dehradun; Mr. Tarundeep Singh Anand, Founder and Chairman, Universal Business School; Mr. Rahul Singhi, Co-Founder and Director, Poornima University, and the session is getting moderated by Mr. Vikram Shah, Chief Business Officer from NoPaperForms. Thank you so much. So I will be now inviting my colleague, Mr. Rahul Binoy, to just have an introduction of our panel speakers for the day. By the time he sets up with that introduction, may I request the backend team to, to share a short video of NPF on the slide. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, all the eminent panelists and our fellow audience. My name is Rahul Binoy, and I'm from ASMA. I'm the event coordinator for today's event. And before starting the panel, I'd like to introduce our eminent speakers we have in here for the first panel. Okay, so the first speaker I'd like to introduce is a graduate from BITS Pilani in electronic and electrical engineering. He founded the Data Line and Research Technologies Limited, a company, one of its kind, who pioneered the concept of online access to financial information. Currently, the founder of Vijaybhoomi University and chairman of IFIM institutions. I welcome Dr. Sanjay Padode, sir. Welcome you, sir. And moving on, our next speaker, hailing from Assam, an MBA in Finance from Narsimhanji Institute of Management Science, Mumbai, leading a trust with over 800 plus staffs for various initiatives. He is very actively involved in mentoring and incubating new ideas and companies. He is also very passionate about local businesses and supporting and setting up local businesses. Please welcome the Managing Trustee of Assam Downtown University, Mr. Joutishman Dutta. Our next speaker is an alumna of Symbiosis Institute of Design, Pune, a self-starter and an achiever. She is the recipient of several awards and honors, including certification in leadership from Oxford and Harvard in 2015 and 17, respectively. Please welcome the Executive Director of Tula's Institute, Dehradun, Ms. Silky Jain Marwah. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rahul.
Moving on to our next speaker. He has 25 plus years of rich experience in financial services, banking, exchanges, and education, an MBA from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai, who also pursued executive education at Michigan Business School, USA, Tuck School of Business, and I Business School, Spain. He brought the best global practices in management education to India through partnership with leading global universities. He is also a TEDx speaker. Please welcome the founder and chairman of Universal Business School, Mr. Tarundeep Singh Anand. We welcome you, sir. And moving on, we have leading edupreneur with a bachelor's degree in architecture from Ayojan School of Architecture and a master's in family managed business from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research. An optimistic person who is always on the move, looking for innovation at work, who believes in empowering young minds and underprivileged children. I welcome co-founder of Poornima University and director of Poornima Group, Mr. Rahul Singhi.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. And now moving on to the moderator of this amazing panel with a career span of 18 years with many reputed organizations such as GMAC, Citigroup, and Fullerton Securities and Wealth. I welcome the Chief Business Officer of NoPaperForms, Mr. Vikram Shah. Hi, sir. And I'd like you to take over this panel discussion and move on ahead. Over to you, Mr. Vikram.
Thank you so much, Rahul. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Vikram. Just an update. We are just waiting for Mr. Sanjay Padode to join. Rest all the panelists are here. Yeah.
Sure. So thank you so much, ASMA, Chandan, Rahul, for organizing this wonderful session. Thank you so much to all the eminent panelists who have joined this session. I would like to start the session since 3 out of the 4 currently as a panelist are our clients, NoPaperForm clients. Joutishman is the only one, and I believe that Joutishman will take a decision in terms of joining the bandwagon. I would like to start and start this session more from a point of view of talking about the technology and how technology has evolved in the last few years, particularly post the COVID, how it has rapidly changed, and in this evolving digital age, it is unimaginable for a business to actually be relevant and sustainable without leveraging technology. And hence what we have done is we have created this session largely to discuss more about how technology has impacted the business schools, the universities, and the institutions, and how they have adopted this in the light of COVID, as well as how they are going to manage it post-COVID in terms of their adoption, in terms of ensuring that how technology is being used within the organization, not only to support the internal customers, but to the external customers as well. So to start, I would like to invite Mr. Anand to talk about, sir, what do you think that what do you fear the most for your university admission, and how did you actually navigated the admissions during the pandemic? What impact it had on your marketing and communication strategy, and how did you actually adopt technology? What technology actually has played a role into it? So can you just share your insights with respect to what you did at your institution?
Sure. Firstly, thank you for this wonderful seminar. Really appreciate it. I think, I always say the pandemic, we were all in the same storm, but not in the same boat. And I think the ones who had the right tools were the ones who could, perform and keep the, candlelight going while it was very tough. It was windy and the storms were hitting us from all directions. So I think we completely relied on our technology partners to make sure that we have a platform which was connected front to back, right? All the way through, straight through processing. Like you look at in industries, you look at raw material. For us, the raw material is the purely the lead, or not even the lead, it's data. And then how you take that lead all the way through the process of nurturing the lead, making sure that it's a authentic lead, and then you go through the process of actually nurturing it, getting it to an application stage, getting it through the admission process, and then potentially conversion of the students. So using technology has allowed us to literally not have this problem of having manual interventions, and get all the right analysis and the data and all this kind of tools which help you to make sense of all of this. Because especially when you're in a world where you're not connected with your teams were all over the countryside, they were disconnected. To have a customer CRM system to play that role, you could even track student performance, the team performance, which was another very, very key area. Which channels were working, not working, tweak your marketing budgets accordingly, trying to put emphasis on certain areas which are doing well. And we were forced to all go online, each one of us. I'm sure the same thing you will hear from all my colleagues on the panel. So when you're in that mode, everything from all the interview process was online. So, interview booking, that entire process with zero touch point, minimal errors. Earlier what used to happen is two people book the same slot, and then you get into all kinds of confusions. So I think, the technology really helped us navigate this tough time. So I'll stop here. I can go on, but I'd love to hear the other panelists as well.
Sure. I think that's a great insight, more from a point of view that how overnight you change your processes to ensure that everything which was to some extent offline, especially you talked about the interview piece and how we were nurturing leads and all that, and you managed to actually do that well within the time in the pandemic. I think it's good to know how you managed to navigate through the technology. I would like to bring in Joutishman Dutta for his insights with respect to what he did there in Northeast to attract talent and ensure that how technology have played a critical role in your admissions and marketing foray. We can't hear you.
You're not audible, Joutishman sir.
So let Joutishman actually fix his mic issues and all that. What we can do is we can quickly go to Silky and understand from her that what are the changes she has done in terms of her processes and how she has adopted technology for Tula's institute.
Thank you, Vikram. Happy New Year's to everyone sitting out here. It's part of this today. So, I think I would like to shift before the pandemic now. And I would like to tell the journey of technology, at least in my life and in Tula's institute life. So it's been a decade when I am into this education sector. And I immediately after my design school, I entered into this education world. When I was actually dealing with admissions, I found that people were jumbling up, having tough tasks in reading the Excel sheets. Everyone is fighting towards, this is my admission, this is my lead. And so in 2012, I think, we came up with our own lead management system. And year on year, we were actually updating it requirement according to our institution. And that was the time when I see that from 2012 till 2020, how life has been very easy since the technology is into my life. So, but yeah, of course, because as fast as we are changing, we cannot in-house we cannot update ourselves if we have a team in-house. That's what I feel. And if we have partners like you, NPF, sitting in the world, then I don't think we need to have an in-house team sitting for that. So yes, technology plays a very, very important role today. And why I say so, it's a single point of contact. And like Tarundeep sir also said, I'll totally agree. Sitting virtually, it's just not pandemic, because we being into the management cannot enter into our admission cell on the daily basis. So this system makes our life easy. At any given point of time, you can actually check what exactly is happening in your campus related to your admissions, which is the bread and butter of your organization. And plus point with this is you can even analyze that which counselor is performing well, which how much time you're taking to nurture data into a lead, then into an admission. So when you get so many things together, and I think being into management, you're more towards seeing the statistics. You are wanting to know at a single click what exactly is happening when and where. So it gives you a mental peace, and also it helps you to strategize your sales in a better way. I'm sorry to use that word sales, but unfortunately in education, I think now sales actually has come into a big picture, and if we should not shy away from using this word, because we are actually telling students and parents that why are we a better institution, what we will give them on this while they are doing this degree. So I think it's just not pandemic. It is before pandemic or after pandemic or in pandemic, technology has been really helpful. Yes, but if you really like concentrate on why it was more beneficial in this Corona times, was that see, immediately I think every one of us had to shift to the online mode in terms of our classrooms also. So it was very important for our audience also to know that how have we shifted our classrooms online. So this system helped us in a better way to market ourselves with the strategies which we had already planned before COVID. We additionally planned one more marketing tool that, okay, now we've become online, and how is the setup playing the role. So here in Tula's, at least, I think I'm a big fan of technology. It's just not this lead management. I think we are into this system of education, and we are seeing that every sector is becoming digital. Then why not education? So I really feel that technology did help in Corona times.
Thank you, Silky, for your comments, as well as sharing how NoPaperForms is supporting you in your endeavors related to managing everything from a lead to a final admission. So I quickly would like to go to Rahul and understand from him how he and his team is actually managing technology and what they have done in the light of pandemic as well as no pandemic. What are the changes they have done to adopt best practices both on marketing and admissions?
So we took pandemic as a opportunity, and technology was already there. Admissions were, I mean, the team of admissions and the office of admissions were comparatively advanced as compared to the academic teams when the pandemic started and when the lockdown happened. So we thought that technology already exists. We need to do something which is not technology dependent, and which is not usually done during our routine days. So we did 3 4 different things. We tried our efforts. So first thing that we did was we adopted around 10 25 villages nearby our university during the pandemic. We distributed lots of kits and masks in the local villages. So, and then we also put up posters of corona, I mean, posters of vaccination, mask, and general hygiene with our branding. So this was not usually done in past many years, but we got time because technology was already there. Everybody was already in their comfort zone. So we made a team of 3 4 people to come out of the comfort zone and we did all those things which we were not doing in past 4 or 5 years. Of course, NPF has helped us a lot to, think about the other things that we usually don't think about. So we did that. Thirdly, what we did that we introduced a scholarship model for the nearby villages. So even if, I mean, in terms of total number of admissions, we did, in terms of total number, we did better than last year. But then we vacated few seats, especially for the local people. We generated more jobs for the local people, for the nearby villages. So we hired, and we are also currently hiring people from the nearby villages so that they are employed in the campus. And other than that, what we did was, so all of these things gave a good word of mouth for our admissions. It helped us a lot in attracting more people in the university. Our university is, located a little far away, around 20-30 kilometers from the city. So the local influence helps a lot. The people who are, I mean, as simple as that, if any parent comes and he asks a village person that where is Poornima University, if he's happy with Poornima University, he will tell the way. And if he's not happy with Poornima University, he would, try not to answer. So we made sure that all our, near and dear ones who are around the university are also involved in the admission process directly or indirectly. And so that's what we did during the whole pandemic. Technology was already there. I mean, no question, no doubt about it. We of course leveraged it more. We helped, we as Tarundeep sir said, and Silky also said that technology was, the backbone, and it was the same for us. But we did something extra beyond those things, which we usually don't do.
I think, Rahul, that's a great insight in terms of serving the community around your university and ensuring that they become your activist in terms of promoting your institution. So, quickly, Joutishman, if you can hear us, we would like to get your perspective from Assam. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having this problem.
No, that's completely fine.
Yeah. Technology and me personally don't have a healthy relationship. I don't like technology, and technology seems to do the same to me when we have webinars, especially, and there's a time deadline to be met. So in Northeast, we always have this feeling that we are a little cut off, and when it comes to technology and bandwidth, we are more cut off. So sometimes I feel it's not true. Sometimes I kind of the point is reiterated that it is true. So when we have to be totally dependent on technology, we are not very comfortable. So yet somewhere, as all the panelists have already said, we kind of agreed that there would be more online leads, and you have to have more of a telecalling kind of an admission team rather than the walk-in kind of an admission team. But what happened this year, I think it happened to all of us. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, again, the cut. I don't know what the problem is. But again, this year, I think the learning curve was steep. From what we anticipated, the number of leads would come online. I think almost 90% of all the leads have come through online modes or telephonic mode rather than walk-in modes. So that was a change I think every institute has adopted this year. But overall, let's see what happens in the coming years. Because more or less we've seen a trend. A lot of parents like to see the institute before they take an admission. But this is perhaps only, I think 80, even 90% of the parents and the students have not yet seen the university even after one semester. So is this a trend that's going to continue for the coming semesters? That's difficult to say. But again, but also because of that, a lot of parents and students have become comfortable with these modes. Concept of online payment is not really a big deal, but it's just about making the first payment. When you make the first payment or the second payment, you get comfortable. So once you get a taste of that, you would not like to go back to the old cash moment. So I think this has forced a lot of people to learn, and I hope that a lot of people would be adopting these learnings in the coming years. So I think that way your entire system of admission has to change.
Sure. So if I have to just ask an additional question there with respect to how has the process of admission changed from a technology adoption point of view in your institution, and what were the risks involved, and what challenges to some extent you wanted to overcome to ensure that you adopt the technology which will help you in your admission process?
See, we already had an online platform which we've been using for lead management, but I will honestly confess that it is not as sophisticated to handle this year. It was good enough to handle 2019 perhaps, but the amount of leads that came in, the kind of filtration systems you needed, it was not good enough. But in between the season, there was not much that we could also do. Because as I mentioned, the idea was we'll have maybe 20% admissions coming in through leads and almost 70-80% coming through the face-to-face counseling or the walk-ins, as was the convention. But now you have a system that needs to be adopted. There were more people in our branch offices. There were more people in our so-called district offices than in the head office telecalling center. So the whole process of even recruiting and training had to be done online. We recruited people we never met. They worked from their homes and we met them only maybe in August or September when things were getting better. So that was a huge challenge. But I think every institute has adopted, because when challenges are thrown, you would adopt. I think even students are adopting in their own way to learn and adopt to the new way of learning that I think every institute now has to deliver. So this was a challenge, but the challenge, as I mentioned to you, there are genuine problems here. Say we are based in Guwahati, which doesn't really, you cannot call it, you can't club it with the rest of the Northeast. I can't reach Arunachal even today. It sounds funny, but I can't reach to most districts in Arunachal even today. So a lot of students are still not being able to take admissions. So I think they would suffer more. In terms of the capacity, we'll fill our capacity. But a lot of even deserving students will not be able to make it because they are stuck in certain areas. Even if they take admission, it's almost next to impossible for them to take the classes. So the question is, why even waste? It's better to waste a year rather than waste fees and try to learn, but actually they will not be able to learn. So that is a genuine problem with a lot of districts and a lot of states in this country, especially Northeast. I can vouch for it, but I'm sure it's the same with many other districts across the country.
Sure. So, Mr. Anand, if I come to you and ask you a question related to what has changed in your admission process with respect to what all processes which you were doing offline, how many of them you have converted online, and what kind of, I would say, user insights you have generated, what kind of user support you have given to students with the help of using technology?
So firstly, we used to go to every city to across the country, travel, and obviously that was completely out, and it's still out till one foresees this season, which we tend to finish off in March. I don't think mega changes are going to happen in the near future. So that entire traveling has gone completely, which I love. I absolutely delighted never to get on a flight again. For leisure is fine, but this kind of stuff, because it takes the entire day. You have to do a presentation for an hour in one city, and your entire day is gone trying to get there and get back. So I think that's one of the best parts of the pandemic, and I'm pretty certain we're not going to go back to that manic traveling. From a insight perspective, I think it's much easier on of course the NPF platform, the entire automation process. So as I said, in any business process, if you can remove human error, right, just take that out of the system, so that and don't, I mean, you always trust your teams to do X at a particular time, a date, a thing, remove that aspect from them. Let the machines manage it. I always say the world has moved to the brain, the left side of the brain, which is where you do all the mathematics of memory and all of that serious stuff. That's going to be replaced by machines. So that's gone. It's the right side, which is where your creativity comes, your innovative nature comes. You're going to be explorers on the right side. I think that's the area, the compassion, the emotion. So I always tell my team that, let the technology take care of all the stuff which can be mechanized, automated. Let's not waste our time there, because eventually you're trying to remember, I have to talk to this parent or that student or that counselor or so on. Let technology do all the elements. So that's one of the wow factors, I feel. And then let them focus on the more, areas where they can come up with difficult unique propositions for the student. So And on the insight basis, of course, technology then does a much better job, as Silky also mentioned, than Excel spreadsheets. You can literally look at your channel strategy, you can look at your funnel strategy, you can say, okay, these are the things working, not working, and you can literally have the data cut and sliced and diced geographically, age wise, product wise. So that always is a big asset to anybody who's at a decision making table. All our budgets, right? We put budgets, serious, money on these, decisions on which channel partner working, not working. So it helped in the negotiation process with them, right? So we say, hey, you can, because we had data, right? We throw the data at your face and say, hey, you haven't performed. How can you ask for that X, Y, Z? So I think that's another insight which we took. So the more intelligent you can become and the technology can make you, the more actionable you can action that intelligence.
So again, thank you so much for sharing those insights with respect to user experience and all that. But additional question there is with respect to how did you ensure that the best students apply to your institution?
So I think that's a focus area on the branding side. To be honest, there are two elements. One is the word of mouth and one is the branding, right? If you do a good job and you do well, the existing students who are online, because we literally switched online within less than a week, we were online. Again, it was a very steep curve for our faculty. So they started delivering. We could get people from all over the world. We said, what's the advantage? Let's not talk of the disadvantage of technology. Let's only think of the advantage. I'll give you this funny, I don't know if any of you seen this movie called Speed, way back, Keanu Reeves, right? So there's a guy with the hostage. There's a police guy who's been held. Terrorist has put a gun on his head, and there's a guy, pointing a gun at the situation. So what does he do? He first shoots his own police officer in the knee. That guy goes down, and then he shoots the terrorist. Right? I'm sure this is iconic. After that, many movies follow the same theme. But that was the first time, and he literally said, the management lesson, if I may say so, from that is take away the problem first. Right? The hostage, just throw it out, and now say, okay, imagine that doesn't exist. What's good about it? And that's what we did with technology, saying, what can we do to leverage technology to the fullest in the entire academic process? So not only, was from a lead generation, all of that stuff, which NPF does a great job. We're talking of the entire technology for the student engagement, end-to-end, parent engagement, end-to-end. So the entire ERP, if I may use that word. And that exposure to students saying, wow, these guys are, switched on, switched off. They are in a new world of platforms. So they do a lot of word of mouth saying, you know what, these guys are on the ball. They are giving us a lot more. We used, breakouts on Zoom effectively for our case study delivery and stuff like that. So that went out into the world, and that people said, you know what, we're seeing a great experience. So that's one way you attract high quality students. The other is, of course, as big your brand is, that's going to make people come to you with obviously the right content and trying to position yourself in the best fashion possible to attract the best the high quality students.
Sure. Thank you. So, Rahul, if I can quickly come to you and ask you the same question with respect to, I know that your university is located 30 kilometers away from the city. How are you ensuring that through online means, in terms of promoting your institution, you are trying to catch hold of the right kind of talent and the best students can apply to your university?
Well, Jaipur and Rajasthan is a very competitive market. In terms of colleges, Jaipur is ranked number two in the highest in terms of the number of colleges in a city. In terms of universities, there are around 60 universities in Rajasthan, out of which around 20-25 in Jaipur, and nearby our university, we are around 7-8 universities. So it's a very competitive market. Apart from the online things that we are doing, we're also making sure that we do the BTL activities more, because majority of our students who are coming are from cities smaller than Jaipur and Jaipur. So we also focus on outdoor hoardings. We also focus on, so we were basically an affordable institution in terms of fee structure. Our fees ranges from around 20,000 rupees to 80,000 rupees per annum. This is the average fees that I'm talking about. So we do a lot of BTL activities. This year we are expanding our team, and we are making sure that we penetrate the rural market. And since now the pandemic has opened up, there is a lot of potential in the rural market. As I say, there is lack of information in the rural part of the country. So this I realized, rather first hand experienced, when we adopted the villages and we went to the school. We spoke to the students. There are very bright students, but they do not know what to do, what not to do. So our entire focus for upcoming 2, 3, 4 years would be to penetrate in the rural market and catch hold of fresh talent. Um, we're also offering scholarship for sports persons, for people who have lost their parents, for that is how we. And then we are also working with the Anganwadis and the Panchayat. We are helping them structure their, so we are actually putting in diverting our marketing funds into the upliftment of the nearby villages, so which will give us perpetual marketing platforms, and that will help us in a longer run. So I think that institutions are not made for 4, 5, 7 years. They're made for 100, 200, 300 years. So we have a long way to go. We are just 8 years old.
Sure, sure. So coming back to what I heard from Rahul as well as Mr. Anand and Mr. Datta, Silky, if since we have three different institutions from three different sides of India, one from Jaipur, one from Northeast, other from Karjat, and you are in Dehradun. Uh, what do you think? How should an institution build a distinctive marketing, communication, and engagement strategy to stand out? Largely because different institutions are targeting different set of students as well as parents, and their reality is also different. So, what, in your sense, how you adopted distinctive marketing and communication strategy for your crowd?
Vikram, I think Tulas is one of the institutions in the country where we believe to give an identity to a student, okay? And we are very, very aggressive about it. What I feel, because I myself was a very introvert child in my childhood, and the kind of exposure I got from the city like Pune, and that's what was the biggest transformation in my own life. So the learning which I actually got from exposure, actually that's what I think is the root cause we are also channelizing into Laz. So where we believe, where you were using this term called high quality, I little bit do not agree with that terminology, because every student is unique, every person has its own identity. So we need to actually see that what student is good at what thing, and that's what the enrollment should be taken care of. So why not an engineer today become a model or an actor, because it is happening in the country. Education is important, not directly it is related to your career. So that's what we are actually accepting and promoting this fact also. And we do this by doing a lot of events, and we always say that we are a student centric college. It's not a college wherein made by a management. It is totally a college for the students, by the students, and for its faculties. So I think the major role what we actually see is that when you do a lot of events in your college, be it on campus or on campus, it automatically builds a sense of confidence into your students and into your faculty members also. And I think in today's world, you will see that confidence, communication, and telling your heart out, I think is any company wants today. So whether you want to become an entrepreneur or you want to get into a job sector, what requires is that what are you exactly. So I think we come up with a lot of events wherein the personalities of the students come out and they feel happy being into the campus, along with their so much pressures they have in today's time related to the degrees they are doing. So the happy quotient, what we call, we pay a lot of attention on that. We want the students to be happy ultimately. So I do not know how many of us will agree to that, but being into this generation, I see that the education and your hobby should somewhere be taken very seriously. And that's what so we are doing. Then we pay a lot of attention on the kind of USP you called as today's time is certifications, which is again important for the student to at least talk about and why have we done that, what exactly I am good at. So we do a lot of tie-ups in the corporate world for the same, be it Amazon or any dealing, any kind of company you talk about. We just try to get them on campus so that they can actually enhance the students academically that ways. So in the pandemic also, I think it gave a very good chance to us that I totally agree with Tarun sir that I am very happy that now we do not have to travel. People have started to actually function online. So it is just not doing your presentations online. It is also about how to have various events online also. So my kids have really done a good job in that case. And that's what is bringing us nearer to our target audience also. And by God grace, yes, we were able to do good numbers as compared to 2019, just because that we stick to this thing that we want students to gain that identity, which they usually lose when they enter into a course. So I think that's what we stick to.
Sure, sure. So we heard from Silky about the engagement strategies. Mr. Dutta, if you can share your insights with respect to both the marketing and communication strategies, especially in the light of, as you said, that largely you see a walk-in in normal year, but this year you have seen a huge amount of digital leads which has come to you. So how you have ensured that your communication as well as your marketing strategies talk to them and understand more about what they want in their future?
You're talking about who wants what in the future? The students primarily.
Yes, yes, the students.
See, I
to
think
understand more about their aspirations and how it will fit into enrolling them in your institution. I think probably he had a power cut. I can see that lights have gone off. So, Mr. Anand, you can share your insights with respect to how you have built the communication strategies around students who are actually applying to your institution.
I think he's joined back, so maybe we should.
I've joined back. Sorry, no, sir, you can go ahead. I'll join you
No,
later.
no, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, this is a recurring problem for me. There's nothing I can do.
No, it's good to have you. So please, why? Yeah. Because we don't know how long we'll get to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See, I think every institute, you have a goalpost when you start, and somehow during the course of your functioning, you change the goalpost. We had a function, the initial goalpost was, why can't there be a large-scale institution in Northeast? Almost 40 to 50,000 students were leaving Northeast 10 years ago. I don't have the statistics now. I would like to believe that we have contributed to reducing it. Yes, you do need to go and study in centers of excellence. That will always be there. In this country, there will be a free flow of people. But for certain basic programs, or for the lack of having a program in your neighboring village or your neighboring town, if you go out, I think it's not justified to each and every student. So the initial goalpost was that simple. And then we had a very simple formula that if you need to sustain an institution, you have to place these students. So we only opened programs where we were confident that there was a captive demand in the region in terms of placements. If that did not happen, we did not even start the program. So which program we could not place 200, 300 kids, we did not even recruit 300, 200 kids. So that was a very basic formula, and I would be happy to say it's kind of worked for us because we've sustained for 10 years and we've really grown in the last 10 years. So in this way, more or less students in this region have understood that if you go to downtown, you would more or less get a placement there, it's assured. So, and we have a very different bouquet of products. I would be in India, even now, I would say there's a huge, it's very, what do I say? There's still a huge focus on MBA, BBA and engineering. Nothing wrong in that. In a private sector, nothing wrong in that. But I would say that a lot of other sectors, there's a huge number of placement opportunities are available, but somehow a lot of universities are not concentrating on that. We actually are not from the education background. Being from the healthcare background, from day one, we've concentrated on healthcare, and hence most of our programs are related to healthcare or applied sciences, something to do with healthcare. So for us, what advantage this pandemic gives us when you do any activity online, as Mr. Singh has already mentioned, you have a larger net. Students, if you had to do a seminar, say in one location, you could only get from that town. Now we have been doing a lot of these online activities. That opens up a lot more avenues for us. You have that geographical advantage or disadvantage that is gone anymore. Now there is no geography when it comes to digital seminars. So that opens up a lot more areas for us. And as you open the net wider, you also get a lot more students. And if you are
We lost you there.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm sorry, this is nothing I can, hence you can understand technology. That's why you called me, I think, to kind of remind people that in India, technology still has a lot of things to be advanced. So I'm sure there are a lot of areas that these problems do pertain. Today, I am not in my head office, I have in my some other site. And so the problem will be keep on persisting. So these are the issues. So that is the thing that we see as an advantage. And this year, our whole last year, the kind of geographical, say, for example, we had X students from this state, X from that state. That whole has changed this year very dramatically. There were pockets which were not giving any admissions to our university till 2019. Suddenly, there's a lot of admissions from that pocket this year. We still don't know what has happened, but maybe we had not been able to reach out to them in the conventional mode. Just because of the digital mode, we could reach out in terms of maybe advertisement, in terms of counseling and seminars. So we reached out to a lot of pockets which were absolutely untouched. So that has been a good, surprising, and positive change this year.
Sure. What is your experience, Mr. Anand, with respect to communication as well as marketing strategies, especially for people who are largely looking at everything online now?
Sure. So, very interesting, to learn that what we just heard was getting people from certain parts or local students not leaving us Northeast and coming to. So we've traditionally always had more than 25 to 27 states in our campus. And this year actually was a blessing in disguise. Because we've positioned ourselves actually what Joutishman said that they can get something in Assam and they don't need to go to other states. We have the similar thing, but in a slightly different context. We say that you don't have to go abroad because you can get a global education in India. So we've partnered with British, French, Swiss, Italian, Spanish, American, Mexican, Bulgarian universities. So we literally, it was kind of a sweet spot for us that those who wanted to go or had admissions abroad, they could get a British, education in India or one of these chosen universities. So we've partnered with some high quality institutions. So we were like, we changed our marketing strategy saying, first time, and we've never done that, saying you don't have to go abroad. We have something in India at a fraction of the cost. You don't have to spend 25 lakhs a year. You can get done at a much lower cost. So I think that was one of the strategies which we pivoted to, which worked. So we got a lot of students who typically go to the Gulf or study in Europe. That was one of the interesting things. I think the other area for us was in terms of our entire ethos, our names is universal. So we encourage a lot of interaction and a lot of projects. So my students do projects. Every student has to do a project in Europe, right? That's part of the course. So that ability to get in a virtual world without traveling. You have these alliances. We are part of several global business school alliances. You could have them to access, and they were competing with students all over the world without having to even see them, but except on something like a Zoom. So I think that played out, well for us. So those would be two distinctly different things that we put out there.
Sure. So we heard from Joutishman about how to ensure that students don't go out of Northeast and they get quality education within Northeast. And here we are hearing from Mr. Anand with respect to how to ensure that students don't go out of India. They can study or get a good degree within India. What is your experience, Rahul, with respect to Poornima University in terms of ensuring the marketing and communication strategy with the students?
Well, the immediate thought is the mix of both. The mix of both what Tarundeep sir said and Joutishman said. Uh, but yes, in terms of strategy, we reallocated a lot of our budgets into the places where we got good returns last year, and we invested more on that. And other than that, it was just a routine thing that we were doing, but we got more time to make our marketing collaterals. We were more comparatively updated documents. We also restructured our fee structures, and this was the best time to do that. So I think, and then other than that, this year what we focused more on the accreditations and inspections that we had planned for 21. We preponed them, and we prepared everything in 2020, because we got a lot of time. Our teachers, staff members got a lot of time. They were not directly interacting with the students on campus. So we leveraged that part. As far as marketing and strategy is concerned, as I said before, that we tried the rural initiatives and BTL activities this year, which we haven't tried in past almost 15 years, 16 years. And that really was a game changer. Uh, Apart from that, as everyone focused upon the integrations of various payment gateways and integration of the other tools and widgets. So NPF platform helped us a lot in integrating these things. Um, I mean, this also helped us to see that where the investment had gone right, where the investment had got wrong. So it will definitely pave the path for future.
Sure. So very quickly, let me go back to Mr. Anand and ask a question with respect to what he thinks about enabling a great student experience, largely from a point of view of content discovery, application submission, or query management and all. How the institutions are ensuring that the customers or the students will have a great experience.
So I think absolutely, this has become a very professional way of dealing with students. We've realized that it's like no other. It's like a customer who wants to make sure that he gets the relevant support, the relevant questions answered, the relevant hand holding, all through with things like loans, with financial assistance, with scholarships, what other types of scholarships he or she can avail of. So I think we did a lot of that to make sure that it's all, again, as much as possible automated. But this year we've further gone one step further, and your NIA platform makes it very, very the chatbots to get, again, that was another big pain, right? We had our own chat from an international company, but someone had to be sitting there responding, and obviously there's a 9 to 6 you can expect someone to do that. But what happens when the student is live at 11 p.m, he wants answers to his questions, right? Who's going to answer those questions? And then they come in as just a one line. And so, when he's very keen to get the answer, there's nobody to answer. So that kind of automated automation in terms of, and we're learning. It's an AI tool. So you keep getting better and better in terms of the kinds of questions that students will ask, because every time there's a new one, which you're like, oh, we didn't even get this for the last 5 years. So I think those are things where we think we are further accelerating this response instantaneously on that front. On the other front, we had to have special help desks with people to know the how to deal with students, how to deal with parents. Parents counseling was a very, very important thing, especially with parents thinking, should he or she drop a year, right? I heard Joutishman said. I used to have a very different answer. I said, you know what? We are in a war, right? Imagine there was a war with one of our neighbors. Would you stop eating? Would you stop drinking? No, you won't. You still have to drink and eat. So education is food for the brain. So you need to keep educating yourself, and you can't take a break, especially at graduation level. Yes, in a postgraduate world you can possibly take a break, but in an undergraduate world, it's tougher, right? And in India there is a lot of stigma of a break. Yet it's not like the Western world where you say, I'm going for a backpacking around the world for a year. So I think in that sense, we felt that they needed to, parents had to be told. I kept saying, the situation is such that we all are trying. Nobody's asked for it, right? It's a situation, and in business management, we say make the best of the situation. What's the best? Let's get your child in. Let's not waste a year, because if he's going to waste his year, he's going to be on WhatsApp and Netflix, and I don't think that's going to be that valuable. Why don't you just put him in through the online, synchronous learning, and as and when we can open up, they will get all the things that a student requires. So I think there was a lot of time spent on parents, and even till now, there are parents who are like, they dismiss it because they don't know. So we said, get the parents into the classroom, come see the kind of value that your child is getting. And I think that process, although there was always the other fun part that, earlier you have students to judge you. Now there's a smart parent who says, Acha, ye formula iska theek nahi hai. You have parents judging you, which never was the case. We used to have them in our classroom, shut doors, and we controlled the audience. Now we had grandfathers, grandmothers. So we actually said, come into the class, experience the class, know the kind of effort the faculty is putting in. They're putting their life on it, right? And the kind of stress. They're also managing their houses, they're managing their kids, and they're going the extra mile. So I don't know why, but everybody calls COVID warriors the policemen and the doctors and nurses. Absolutely, they are the front line. But I think the educators in all our respective campuses, they've done a phenomenal thing to keep the country growing. We hold the nation's future in our hands, and we mold that future. So I think in terms of high value, I think after that segment, I think the teachers should be getting the jabs. That's my plea.
I completely agree with you on that front. With respect to teachers, actually played a very important role during the COVID times, and especially if you look at the K-12 as well as a segment. I think overnight going online, and teachers had no way to kind of teach online. They had no technology and all that. But teachers have come forward not only in the higher ed segment but in the K-12 segments as well, in a big way. So Silky, very quickly, if I come back to you and ask you with respect to what all changes you have done in your institution from a student experience point of view in the last few years, especially when more and more students from other parts of India are applying to you as well as from abroad. What you have done, not only from a website point of view on content discovery, but entirely from a student experience point of view on journey to look at Tula as an institution.
Vikram, I think each year we see as a new year. That's what I think we all should be now updating ourselves as, because being into education, I think we should be rapidly changing ourselves like what other sectors are doing. So whether it is an infrastructural change or curriculum change or getting into the new courses. That has been our throughout the year progress, what we actually have been following. But seeing this pandemic, the biggest task this year, which has been the motivation. Honestly, because like we always say, we all started our admission strategies in 2019, maybe November or December, and mostly we get into the grip of admissions via like immediately after the board exam, that is mid-March or say April. But this year has been a different year for all of us, though we have been able to fill our numbers. But I think it has not been that effective, what I personally feel, because from 2019 till 2021 in January, we are still just talking about one academic session, which is 2020. So, and now we are also coming up to the next session, which is 2021. And unfortunately, I will say that government hasn't played a very good role as far India is concerned. I do not know how many of you will agree, but it is a reality. Like we all come from small towns, and the 2020 is an ending and batch is an ending, and we are shifting to 2021. So that has been the biggest challenge to actually overcome. Because again, the class 12th date sheets, be it ICSE or CBSE, are yet not out, though they have cut out the syllabus. Again, the JEE is in a dilemma. Again, entrances. So is 21 going to be the same in terms of the managing the people? Like we all said, teachers actually should be credited, faculty should be given a lot of appreciation what they have done, but keeping their motivation in same in 2021, I think it's going to be really terrible. So I think that's what we are right now focusing on, that how to actually give freedom to our faculties. That's what 2020 has taught Tulas, at least, that we need to give a lot of time to faculties also to upgrade themselves, which we used to do earlier also. But now I think we are focusing more on that. Rather than just taking classes, we are actually making the timetable as such that they can do a lot of certifications themselves also. So because as we are seeing the new education policy which is coming into the picture, it clearly states that even the faculty which was actually been teaching cannot be a teacher in the coming times, because he will have to go to a certain certification. So I think so that's what our biggest forte or focus has been, that we have to upgrade our faculties, and we need to make them updated with the new technology. And secondly, as far as the students is concerned, just talking about, you all were talking about that we really do not know what better happens. See, migration was happening too much till 2019. And in 2020, we all have seen a shift that your own local student from your state has actually taken admission in your college. So I really don't see that we have done something very good here. I'm being very honest. I think, again, pandemic gave so much time to your students and your parents to actually Google and see what is best nearby them. So that maybe has given us again a recognition in your own state, which was actually missing, because the migration rate which had increased too much. Of course, it was good because we were having a lot of students from 26, 27 states of our country. But if your own state is not feeding you or not having confidence in you, I think you cannot survive in the longer run. So I think pandemic gave that kind of an experience to all of us, wherein now your own state has started trusting you. And in the last, the biggest achievement what we have happened is that we've started competing with the university directly now. So that's the biggest change. And yes, with the technology, what benefit happened, that because the marketing was already streamlined, so we did not have to do too much of work. Our emailers, our SMS, everything was going time in hand, which was actually knocking the doors of a student or a parent that yes, Tulas exist. So a recall value was coming in. So later, definitely the admission season did not ended in July or August as it has to, but it's going on, and yes, let's see how 2021 moves ahead.
Sure. So very quickly, I would like to go to Mr. Joutishman and understand from his perspective, because he is there in Northeast and he's trying to actually ensure that more and more students should not go out of Northeast. They study within the local institutions. Do you think that providing or enabling a great student experience is important more from a content discovery as well as from a query management resolution or a handling of a student is concerned? We can't hear you. You are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm actually calling from two devices, believe me. I'm having my two networks I have to take support, one for my voice, one for my video. It's quite funny. Anyway, see, we have to categorize students as two things. Yes, they are students. When it comes to learning, they are students. But they're also, in terms of client, they should not be given too much time to actually do their administrative duty. A lot of students spend a lot of time to pay fees, take this bona fide certificate, take that certificate, spend so much time taking their mark sheets. If there's a problem in the mark sheet, they have to again queue up, give an application that this is the problem. I believe that 19% of those issues should be handled by ERP or LMS. So the students do not have to devote any time or as less time for these administrative issues. They come to the university only to study, to learn. So they should be able to concentrate entirely on that. That is a very key factor in giving a good student experience. In terms of student experience, you have a class for say 40-45 minutes. How much of a time actually goes in hearing, talking to your teacher, or how much time you're spending in actually say writing down notes or taking notes or going through some theoretical portion, which you can do actually via self-learning. So it is very important to have an LMS. This is entirely our point of view, and which is how our universities have been operating. To have an LMS that already has everything preloaded for them. Every note, the entire question bank, last year's question papers with the model answer scripts, as much information, as much knowledge should be preloaded for the students so that he has access to that anytime, anywhere. His time at the university or in the classroom should be open to fill up his doubts, to talk to his faculty, to understand more about the issues rather than just reading or rather than just writing those very same things that he's talking to. If he understands, classroom is for understanding, he can go back home and access all the information at his own time and process it and do whatever he feels like with it. That is a very basic and very important aspect of a student learning, which we strongly believe. If you give a good student learning experience, he doesn't have any hassle from the first phone call to a telecaller when he's making that. He wants a basic query about the university, how fast you call back, how efficiently you address his query, irrespective of whether he takes admission or not. Even if he takes admission in some other university, he will still tell the story that this university at least called me back instantly, gave me the information I did not harass me with telecalls beyond that. So it's a very, it's a very delicate thing. You cannot go when I call them beyond a certain point also. This is a generation that gets irritated fast, but they want everything also at the immediately. So very difficult to balance there. So if you give them an experience, irrespective of they take that admission or not, they will tell good things about you. And that word of mouth is something that nothing can beat that for a university if you or an institution, if you want to sustain for a long period of time. That is the only thing that will make one institute differ from the others, and that brings about these centers of excellence. Or these are the institutes that become centers of excellence only because everyone has only good things to say about them. That is the only thing that will count in the long run. So a very basic thing, but this is a very simple that student experience you have to ensure as an institute. If you do, students will be happy.
Sure. Thank you. Just what Silky and Joutishman shared with respect to ensuring that marketing activities on email, SMS, and all that should continue, and if there is a calling which is required, it should continue with the student. Now the question is for you, Mr. Anand, with respect to where you have to make a balance, because all the institutions are trying to reach to the same kind of audience with email, with SMSs, with Zoom calls, inviting them on various events. How do you make a balance to ensure that your brand equity is not diluted?
No, so I think you know, every institution has a unique proposition. That's why they are not only surviving but thriving. So every institution will position itself. So it's not like joining a particular platform and therefore there are others and all. So I think every one of us has a fantastic proposition, and that's what one has to communicate it effectively with all the mediums that we talked about in the last 1 hour or so. And it's not about dilution. I think if you can present to the audience what you bring to the table, student is very smart. He's far smarter. He's got access to information. He's got access to social media platforms. He's checking you out in every way, right? So I think you have to be there to clearly communicate what you bring to the table, and let the student be the judge of that.
Sure, sure. What is your experience, Silky, with respect to ensuring that how do you make a balance and don't do a over bombarding of reaching out to students with your emails, SMSs, and other marketing activities?
See, I somewhere totally agree with Joutishman also that word of mouth is the best way and it will going to actually sustain you longer. Okay. But yeah, given the technology as a platform, definitely we should all keep a check on that, because we being human beings also, today we also do not want any brand to always flood our emails and SMS with this offer or that offer. So that's what we also keep a check on. So of course, we try to make first of all, we try to channelize our leads into different funnels, and what lead needs how much of attention and how much of branding is required on that particular stage. That's what we take care of. So I think first of all, it is important to divide which lead needs how much attention, and then you can actually see that how much emails, SMS or calls are going on to the particular lead. But of course, too much is of course never going to give you fruits. So we need to maintain that sanity, of course. And yeah, and I think what in today's time, because everyone is very close to each other, though we are at a different states or in a different location, reviews matters a lot, what I feel. So your alumni's review, your present students review, what they are saying, because that what gives confidence for the person and the parent, and that should I be enrolling into this institution. So what I feel that on campus, whatever is happening, we really need to keep our students happy, satisfied. And yes, if we are giving good career opportunities to our students, making their life better in terms of good companies coming into the picture, good packages in their career, so I think automatically your life becomes easy. And that's what I think we totally pay attention to, that reviews should be one of the priority thing, whether it is Google, Facebook, Insta, anything for that matter.
Sure. So we are almost coming to an end of this discussion. We have just 5 minutes left. My last question is to Joutishman with respect to what do you think that how should institution be going about shortlisting the best technology to meet their needs? What should be the parameters an institution should evaluate to look at technology?
Difficult one. See, every university has already some systems in place in terms of IT or processes. So you have to firstly see the platform or the software that will support it the most. But I strongly believe in the last 10 years, we have tried to adopt technology maybe way back in even 2010, 11. I would still go for the vendor, not with the best programming with the NUS software, but who has the best support. We have bought some of the best softwares, and their support is also so American that 5 p.m. on Friday, they do not pick up your calls. But institutions don't function like that. So what is most important is the support. If I get a great support, I'm willing to even compromise on the sophistication of the platform. Again, that's my personal opinion, because we burn fingers both ways. So that is a number one concern for us as an institution. But again, it has to be little flexible as well. Because what happens, you have a process, which is fine. As you mentioned, COVID happened. I'm sure all of us has internally changed the process of admission, even process of classes, process of assessments. So the software, the LMSs, will it be able to adapt as fast as you have decided? We had to decide the whole assessment system change in perhaps a week. Now we had to do the whole examination online. Thankfully, all these softwares that we use are built in-house, so it was not that hard for us. But there were some that we have used for the partners. Our partners could not keep up. So those examination for those partner programs, also we have some industry partners which are delivering a program, we had to postpone them. So that was a very bad learning for us, that they are not willing to adopt as fast as we are. So these are the basic and the biggest concerns. No matter what process I give you in writing today, things will change in the next 6 months or 1 year. I'm not saying to deter you, but that's a fact. So we have to have that flexibility inbuilt and support. With that support, we can call you at Saturday 10 o'clock. If you pick us a call, we love you. If you don't, doesn't matter what your coding is, makes no difference to us. So that is the biggest concern for us.
No, I think that's a great answer, Joutishman, more from a point of view that since in the beginning of this discussion, I shared with you that 4 out of 5 are our clients at NPF, and you are the only odd one out. And
we're not the odd one out. We've chosen a different path. So give us some time to regret it or rejoice it.
For sure. But I was just highlighting the fact that the support is the biggest strength of NoPaperForms as a company. So I'm very sure that we'll rejoice this together. But before we close, Rahul, very quickly, what do you think what are the parameters you would look at when you are looking at adopting a new technology?
So I've also burned my hand a lot of time, and I think support, other than support, of course, the simplicity of the software or the product is important, because at the end of the day, the end user is it might not be that tech savvy as we are. So it should be a simple, easy to understand, no rocket science product. And of course, support is what everyone is looking for.
Sure. So thank you so much, all the panelists, Mr. Anand, Silky, Joutishman, and Rahul, for joining on this discussion. This was really helpful for me to understand more about what all things from a technology point of view your institutions have done to ensure that there is a continuity in terms of communication, in terms of marketing, as well as in terms of ensuring that admission processes are adapted to the best use of candidates. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, ASMA, for organizing this session. Over to you, Chandan.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vikram. Thank you. It was a very wonderful and insightful session, and also much needed one, I believe. And I thank you all the eminent speakers who took some time out of their busy schedule for our event. It's always an honor and privilege to host you all. Thank you once again. And before we start the next panel, I'd like to request the backend team to play a short video from NPF.
Before you play the short video, I like to step in, Chandan. You know my habits, so I'll.
Yeah. Please do that.
Because you don't really get an opportunity to meet all your dear partners at one platform. So I just want to say a quick hello to Tarun sir, Silky, Rahul, and also Joutishman. All of you are doing great.
Hello.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Same here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great. So thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.
Tarundeep sir.
For this
Mr.
opportunity.
Rahul Singhi.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Unmute Vikram. Yeah. So a wonderful moderation, Vikram, by you as well. Thank you so much. So a wonderful day. In fact, so this is today is like 12th of January is also been celebrated as National Youth Day, as most of all of us be aware of. So to the heroes of tomorrow and to the energies that will define the future of tomorrow, wishing you all a very happy National Youth Day on the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda ji. Yes, let us proceed with the formalities. Can we have a short video?
Okay, moving on to the next panel, I'd like to introduce the august speakers we have in here today with us. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our speaker, a leader of a group which runs a range of colleges in areas such as business, media, real estate, and finance. An MBA from Kellogg Graduate School of Management in Chicago and a doctorate in education from the University of Liverpool. He's the recipient of many awards such as the Jamnalal Bajaj Award, Bharat Shirmani Award, Rex Karamveera Chakra Gold Award, to name a few. Please welcome the Managing Director of Shahani Group, Mr. Akhil Shahani. Our next speaker has an MBA in Marketing and Finance from the University of Mumbai. She is a member of FICCI, Higher Educational National Task Force, co-convener of CII Education Council, and a mentor for Atal Innovation Mission of Niti Aayog. She is also a recipient of numerous awards. Also, she's the author of the Amazon bestseller book, The Unknown Edge. Please welcome the president of Sri Sri University, Ms. Rajita Kulkarni. Our next speaker has close to 4 decades of international experience in teaching, research, and leadership roles in higher education and corporate sector. He has authored more than 100 scholarly research publications and research monographs, and several of these as the lead author. He is the president of GD Goenka University. Please welcome Professor Sukku Bhaskaran. Moving on to our next speaker, he is a prominent social entrepreneur who holds various leadership roles in many organizations. He is the co-chairman of National Council on Education, SHM, also a member of All India Prohibition Council, and is the senior vice president of the Research Center for Education Growth and Research. Please welcome the Chancellor of Shobit University, Mr. Kuwa Shekhar Vijendra. And moving on ahead with our next speaker is a well-known film producer, director, educator, journalist, and businessman. He has bachelor's degree in commerce from Shahid Bhagat Singh College and a master's degree in commerce from DU, a postgraduate in marketing management from the Institute of Marketing and Management, as well as a postgraduate in administrative law from Delhi University Law College. He is the founder of Noida Film City and the owner of Marwah Studios, and has produced approximately more than 2,900 short films. Please welcome the Chancellor of Asian Academy of Film and Television, Dr. Sandeep Marwah. Moving on to the moderator of this August panel. He's a seasoned professional with more than 10 years of experience, majorly in education industry and in the area of consulting around marketing and process automation solutions. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at NoPaperForms. Please welcome Mr. Suraj Sapra. And I believe now we can begin with the panel. Over to you, Mr. Suraj.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for the introduction. And you know, the introductions defined everything. I believe I'm the least deserving on the panel, but I'm still I've got the opportunity to moderate the panel. I feel blessed. You know, all the panelists are doing some exceptional work in the area of education. So Kumar sir, Sandeep sir, Akhil sir, Rajita ma'am, and Professor Sukku, I welcome you all, and I feel really honored to be sharing this space with all of you. And with the permission, I'll start with my line of questions. So please allow me. So now the nationwide lockdown, you know, as the world knows and the country knows, was announced on 24th March in view of the rising situation of COVID. And for all of us in the education industry, it was just the onset of the admission season. So while institutions had to reimagine the delivery to the existing students overnight, side by side, there was huge ambiguity on how the admissions are going to happen. So adoption of technology wasn't a choice anymore, rather it became a mandate. And a lot of people who embraced right side of technology could navigate really well. It was largely seen, and the laggards had to suffer a bit. And this is what happened across industries. So just at the onset of new admission session, we thought that it will be helpful to learn from the industry leaders like yourself on how technology can really be leveraged to maximize the outcome of marketing and admissions. And with this, I will start by asking my first question to Rajita ma'am. Ma'am, amid Corona crisis, what was that you feared the most as far as the admissions or marketing is concerned? Because I'm sure that by that time, most of the marketing budgets were already committed, and it was like, you know, changing the engine of the planes while it was really you know, already flying. So did technology play any role to navigate those challenges?
Yes, Suraj, good afternoon, and really nice to be here again with all of you and with my distinguished co-panelists with whom many of us have shared common platforms before. And I'm sure this will be another insightful discussion. So the first question you asked, indeed, Suraj, is a very, I think it has been the case with all of us this year. You use the analogy of a plane. I have been constantly saying that we are fixing the leaks while we are sailing. This has been the year like this. And last year, we were all, I think, flooded with a lot of uncertainties. One of them was, of course, our performance was no longer restricted to what we did or didn't do. It was linked to so many other factors, results of students, results of exams, and so on. And whatever delays happened in whichever area, all of them had like a had an effect on everyone else. So for us, definitely technology played a very, very major role. The first was that we were able to go online in a period of less than 4-5 days after the lockdown was announced. In fact, in the state of Odisha, Suraj, the shutdown was announced 10 days before the lockdown. So we were lucky in the sense that we had time to send students back home. Almost 2,000 students went back home from campus, and it was thanks to these Zoom grids and Google Meet grids, and very, very rapid upgrade of bandwidth, and training and retraining and creating that ecosystem, that we were able to go online. In specific, Suraj, since we are talking about admissions, what I think our team really leveraged is doing virtual tours. We continued to have, Suraj, a campus where about 150 people still lived, continued to stay because they are residents of the campus. They chose to stay on the campus, didn't want to go back to their cities. So they were on the campus. The campus was insulated, it was sealed. So in those who were inside, those who were outside, and there was no, people could not go in or come out. So there were people on campus. So we could use that to do virtual tours of the campus. So even few kids stayed back. So they would go on their bikes with their phones, and, as though we would do a physical tour. If students and parents came to campus, we were able to do virtual tours. They set up many virtual events. So, typically what happens in admission season, events happen, alumni or senior students host the newcomers, or even the parents of the, visiting students, prospective students. So all of that happened also virtually, because we had the advantage of few people staying on campus. If we had to completely be an empty campus, I don't know what would have been then the situation. Maybe we might have had some other ideas. But this we did counseling, Suraj, we did online, which I'm sure all universities have done that online. So counseling happened online, virtual tours happened. We even did simulated sessions, so taking them to classrooms, especially for our practical programs like studio related programs like architecture, or we have a school of osteopathy. So clinic demonstrations, clinic simulations, lab simulations. So all of that also we did online. And actually now, having had the chance to have done that for 8, 9, 10 months, we are also seeing many advantages of it, in terms of, cost save, in terms of time save, in terms of, being able to address large groups of people together. So a lot of that worked out for us, Suraj. I would say, looking back, did we plan to do it like that? It was a lot of trial and error, like all of us had. Many of these things worked. Of course, we have to remember that we are dealing with a Snapchat generation, we are dealing with a 30-minute pizza generation. So that instant gratification is something that I'm sure all my colleagues also, and we are all thinking of what best to do to keep that balance, where students, parents also feel that gratification, satisfaction, at the same time that deep dive into what really needs to be the experience of education should also be maintained. So I will pause here as my response, and then we can continue more.
Great to hear that, man. We talk about virtual tours and lab simulations and introducing simulations in a lot of other places, and that's something that I think all of us would really believe and acknowledge and relate to. Rather, I also believe that though lockdown was really troublesome, but it led to a lot of discoveries and innovations. It made us more agile. Kumar sir, I'll ask an extension to what Rajita ma'am just mentioned, sir. So you must have also adopted a lot of things, Kumar sir, that I also know, just due to the pandemic. However, you're going to use them forever. So what would those be? And I would like to also, request you to also highlight some of the social causes that you really addressed during these things.
Thank you very much, Suraj, and good afternoon, everybody. This is National Youth Day today. So we all are celebrating, and you know what happened, Suraj, during this time, that COVID has made us more young, because we all started using all those technologies, all those things, what Dr. Rajita was talking, that we started dealing with the students of Snapchat culture or pizza culture in their own way, the way they wanted it. And all institutions, they adopted those technologies. And Dr. Rajita, I would like to congratulate you for your book. I am waiting for that, Unknown Edge. And that unknown edge was there also during COVID times, that we were not knowing where is the edge, what we should do. And Suraj, what happened with us, that we were lucky that before the COVID started, we were able to finalize some of our technology partners here, including NoPaperForms. NoPaper was working with us since last many years, but more aggressively we started working with them. And what it has given accessibility to our students, because as Dr. Ajita mentioned about virtual tours, that opportunity was not with us, because generally in our campuses, nobody was living there. So we all were dependent on technology. And as you are aware, we have two universities. One of our university being in a rural area of Western Uttar Pradesh, it was a challenge again, that how to make even that technology accessible to our students. So what was there, that two efforts were made. One, that technology, whatever is there, it has to be accessible to the student, and it is affordable also, in the way that with less bandwidth or with the inferior device, they can access it. They can do what is required to be done. And I am sure that these all things are going to remain with us forever. Yeah. Number two, when this lockdown started, immediately we shifted for online teaching within 72 hours or so. Again, thanks to technology, and we were aware of that. However, we were not knowing that what to do, especially with our professors. Because young boys, those who are assistant professors, they are more willing to learn and experiment. But the professors, they know everything, but they do not want to change. So we started with them, and Professor Bhaskaran is very happy to listen to that. I believe he also had the same experience. So we started with that change. And once that change started coming, the biggest challenge what we had was to engage our students more and more, apart from just delivering them classes. And that engagement, especially when there is a crisis, which is an international crisis, my concern is that a student should be engaged socially also. So few drives which I will like to share here, however much technology was not used in that. One was we started that every student should start working with mask. This was in initial March, April.
Mhm.
At your home, prepare 10 masks, and those 10 masks should be given to those in your neighborhood, those who need it. Those were the times when even that awareness was not there. Then we started working how to prepare immunity boosters through our Ayurvedic medical college. Because in the kitchen, practically everything is available, but we started training our boys and girls how to do that. Then we decided that our international hostel and our Ayurvedic hospitals, they should be converted into quarantine centers. And we took that initiative in spite of the government asking us. We said, okay, come and let us do it. Because always I believe whenever there is a crisis, we have to teach our boys and girls certain those values also, which cannot be taught in normal times. How to manage the crisis, how to be a part of that crisis, and how to do the hand holding of the people around in the society, how you have to play that role. And I'm really happy that it happened very well. And even later on, AICT acknowledged all those efforts. And we were given this Utkrasht Vishwakarma Award for our contribution during this crisis time by AICT. It is a national award.
Fantastic.
When technology part, again, I am coming to the technology part, the challenge, is generally to simplify admission process. And generally in rural areas, what happens, everybody will come, have a feel of the campus, and they will go and they will say, "Ah, bahut acha hai, chalo admission le lete hain." Up now with the technology, with limited bandwidth or very basic devices, what to do? So I'm really thankful, and I must appreciate you, your company, and uh, everything, whatever you people did, because what happened whenever there was a challenge. Generally, what happens that when you take a technology with the best people around, generally they are affordable, available, but they are not accessible.
Yeah.
And this is what happened with us, that whatever partners we had with us, they were accessible to us, and whatever changes we wanted from them time to time, as per our local need, they made it.
Yeah.
And this is, I believe, that with every technology partner, if we want to leverage technology to maximize marketing or admission output, that is the most important thing, that that should be accessible, and it should be available even after the Saturdays, Sundays, or those non-working hours and all those things. So
Great.
this is Suraj, and I stop here. Wish to listen to other panelists and their experiences, because it must be very diversified. Then
Sure.
we will. Thank you.
Sure. I think this question I have to read with a couple of other panelists also, because I think that's something that we'll be able to learn from everybody. But as you mentioned about accessibility, that's a very, very valid point, sir. And I'll take a cue from accessibility and point a question to Dr. Akhil. Akhil, sir, cohorts are majorly talked about accessibility to their captive audiences. The students are coming in, and the people who are really working, and the professors. He talked about the adoption of technology. Now, I'll ask you an off-corona question related to accessibility and marketing, right? It's more to do with the outreach.
Right.
So, the education industry in general is very competition intense, right? So there is a need of doing marketing also, which is not restricted to one channel. And it has been largely seen that most of the communication being carried out, during Corona also, in general also, maybe digital or traditional, is majorly loud about placements. So if everybody is talking about placements, it becomes very difficult to stand out, right? So what do you advise to people in journal or marketers in journal that, as per you, what should an institution do to build a distinctive, marketing or a communication or an engagement strategy to stand out?
So I think, let me take a step back. And I think one thing we need to understand is that every education institution today has access to CRM technology and promotional technology, NoPaperForms, and of course other systems. So that's implementing that is frankly a no-brainer. But the question is that what is it that you're telling to students, right? Now the thing is that, as you all know, is that ultimately people may get a message from an education institution, but their decision to sign up with a medical institution or get admission is based on two things. One is, what's the reputation of the institution? B, what do they see about the institution beyond the reputation? So, for example, there are institutions, which of course, maybe including some of the people here, who actually have a nice name. We've been there for the last 30, 40 years, so they build up a great name and a brand in their own environment. So therefore, they don't have to work too hard to get local students. However, for new institutions, and I'm talking from my experience, because we've set up colleges more recently. I'm not educational entrepreneur, so a lot of our colleges are more recent. We've set up an education technology company, placement firm. So we've been right across the value chain. And being based in Bombay, we don't have the luxury of like large sprawling campuses, and there's a very competitive market, right? So what we realize is that if everybody is doing the same thing, just pushing, okay, look, sorry, sign up for my program because we can place you here, and this is what we do. Everyone's saying the same thing. So you need to do something very different, right? And we did that to some extent. The starting point to understand is that to build up your reputation, you need to look at PR, public relations, not just selling, because the sale does not happen when you actually send us, let's say, a sales message. The sale actually happens once you start giving value add reputation content to the student. Let me give you an example. So we have actually made sure that if you do a search for some Shahani group or Akhil Shahani, that you see a lot of news articles in media which students read. You see a lot of useful posts on with influencers on Instagram. We see a lot of posts on Facebook. Places where students look. We're building up a reputation that way. And it's not where we're building up a reputation talking about ourselves all the time. We actually are giving very useful information. So, for example, one of our most popular posts were like, okay, now that COVID is happening, what do you do about your career? What's the likelihood of you getting a job? What should you? So, for anything that is interesting for the student to know, we provide a lot of content value. And the more content you build up, the more you start getting known as a thought leader in this area. Because to be honest, the thing is that most people's placement tends to be very similar. I mean, most is the same company that you're placing your students in, salary ranges. I mean, all due respect to IMs and ITs, most placements tend to be in a similar range, right? But so therefore, if the student starts trusting you as a provider of good quality content that is useful to them, either through PR placement, through connecting with influencers, by actually, of course, I'm sure all of us do seminars anyway with colleges, but we also are doing a lot of webinars, getting a lot of interviewees with people like yourselves to come in and talk to our students about aspects of their career, and not just aspects about a career. How about softer aspects? So, for example, how does a student deal with depression? How does a young person deal with, let's say, a romance issue? I mean, stuff that most colleges don't talk about, because we want to show that we understand the concerns of kids of that age. Because education is not just the yarn that you're learning in management or finance or things like that. It's more about how to live your life. If we're able to give advice to students how to manage their lives and their careers as a great trusted support person to them, then by default, we don't even have to do much sales. I mean, we get a lot of word of mouth, we get a lot of attraction that way. So start looking at a pull strategy instead of a push strategy. Don't wake up and start selling to the student at the last minute. Don't say, okay, look, I know my admission happens in, let's say, July, August. Let me start my sales process in Feb. And you can start pushing all these ads and saying, our placement is good, course is good, course is good. Build up your reputation, build up yourself as a thought leader. Start getting engaged with students long before you need to sell to them. In fact, there's a great phrase that says, dig your well before you're thirsty. Make sure the students trust you long before you even start convincing them to join your college. So yeah, it's not a technology issue, it's really more of a mindset issue that we're doing.
Great, dig your well before you're thirsty. That's very interesting, take on the content value that you're trying to suggest, and that's a very, very meaningful point also. Creation of content and dissemination of content, which is pretty relative to time and nature also. You're from Bombay, so talk about romance issues. I can very well understand that. And we are dealing with the millennials. So it is to be considered that what kind of a value and content they'll be happy to consume. Now, that brings another question in my mind, and I would request Dr. Sandeep to share insights on that. And because Sandeep sir, at your institutions, you offer very high quality programs of media, mass comm, performing arts. So you're working very closely with creative millennials. And that's how I see it. So one is content creation and the second is content dissemination, right? How content is going to get consumed. So what are those channels which, the millennials are consuming the information on? So what has been your observation in the shift or the latest trends in the way millennials are consuming information? And also, if you could just contribute in, helping all of us understand that, as per yourself, what do you think is the role social media adoption is playing?
Well, let me start with my greetings to all of you on this National Youth Day. What a pleasure to be here on this beautiful platform with so many dignities from the education industry. I'm recollecting two lines कि बेहतर से बेहतर की तलाश करो, मिल जाए नदी तो समंदर की तलाश करो, टूट जाता है शीशा पत्थर की चोट से, टूट जाए पत्थर ऐसा शीशा तलाश करो. Well, this is our policy and this is how we go ahead in our day-to-day affairs. I'm recollecting 20th March. It was an earthquake in our system because an institution which works 9 to 9 and from Monday to Sunday, and when asked to close down, my God, it was a huge shock to the whole system. But it's a coincidence that the research center of Marwah Studios has been working on LMS of its own. And we were preparing, not because we were aware that there's going to be a pandemic, but because we wanted to be in touch with all our 19,000 alumni scattered in 145 countries of the world. We were planning to actually be in touch with those people. And who knew it that we had to cancel that system and use the same system for our current students and make them aware of the current affairs and the current system of learning. That's how we started. Yes, the whole system has changed. वो इतना रहे ख्याल सताने के साथ साथ कि हम भी बदल रहे हैं ज़माने के साथ साथ. Now, immediately, I mean, we had no time to think. We had a main board meeting. We had a brainstorming session and we changed our system instantly and immediately. 2 days probably we worked on Zoom, and third day we were on our own LMS, and students were given enough information how to operate the system, and we were saved, trust me. And we are very happy. We have two education setups, one in Noida and one in Raipur, and both were under control on the third day. I'm very happy, and I'm so thankful to my own management and the whole faculty who managed things even much faster than my own expectations. When it comes to the making of the films, yes, we were very big handicap because social distancing was the norm of the day, and all practicals had to be stopped down. But that has given a rise to making of many new films in-house. And we had to prepare films so that we can show students how films are made, because we were all talking on all these apps. And that has given us ample time to build up a huge material now, the teaching material, which is all in-house. And we're very happy that students have done very well. The short-term courses have been completed. But yes, as and when lockdown was released, as and when we were asked to call back the students to our institution, we have divided the whole system. The only thing is that in spite of having 9 studios, now we have 18 studios, because we cannot have large groups. Initially, we used to have, let's say, 15 set of students in one practical making a film. Now we have divided into 6 and 7. So we have large number of studios. These studios were made overnight under a great supervision. We had to spend ample money. That doesn't matter to me. And we had to buy ample equipment. People were very happy that they don't have to spend money, but I had to spend probably double the money, double the budget of the year, because we have now more editings, more cameras, more studios, and more faculty to handle practical part, because units are very small and we have to provide full information and full practical knowledge to my students. I don't want them to leave the institution without learning the subject, what they have actually applied for. And so we're very happy. My two short-term courses have now only yesterday they have completed. Probably in 2 or 3 days, we're going to have a convocation for them. And for all degree courses, because they're long-term courses, we are as per our syllabus, things are comfortable. When coming to the usage of the software, yes, things have changed a lot. Number one, that I have my own production company, so making programs, making films is not a problem at all. We have everything in-house. All the infrastructure is available to the student. Probably it's a multi-crore setup, but it's available to student at a throwaway price. When it comes to the finalization of product, luckily we have our own radio station, we have our own television station, we have our own YouTube channel, and we had no problem in projecting the final products of the student, which they obviously always looking for when they complete their courses. And the whole system has changed actually. The outdoor events, the outdoor filmmaking, everything has come down to indoor, mind you. Let me put that way, the whole entertainment industry has shifted from outdoors to indoors. And that's how the OTT channels has emerged, new channels has emerged. You'll be surprised that in all these months, the radio station has grown in India by 73%. And the graphics, animation, and gaming has grown by 700%. The news channels have grown by 40%. Unfortunately, the entertainment side of television has dropped down because people couldn't make their new programs during those days. They could not complete the old ones. And same thing happened with the feature films, because no films were shot, no old films were completed, and everything was standstill. No shooting was taking place anywhere in the country. Now, the best part is that now this has given a birth to private channels. It has given birth to a very massive and progressive social media. Students have learned how to project themselves through social media, and social media has become now the most in thing today. I mean, like, if you'll be surprised, there was a time when we used to shout at the students, stop using this social media right now, concentrate on your subject, learn well. Now we had to change our statement, and I'll say, please go on social media, learn learn all the facilities what your mobile is providing you, because every mobile has so many facilities, including editing, including shooting, everything. And we've been forcing them to see the messages and WhatsApp and Zoom and Google and Go webinar, or say Namaste, or go to meetings, or Telegram, or YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Tumblr, Messenger, whatnot. And radio, television, IPTV, websites, emails, graphics, animation, they become the most in thing today. Now, the best part is that when it comes to teaching, for me, it's maybe a routine. But for most of the education setup, most of the higher education setup, it was necessary for them not only to talk on web, but also to present through films. And imagine 15 lakh schools, 40,000 colleges, 1,000 universities. Everyone needed films to project back to the students, all those who were sitting back home. So it has given such a massive rise to the technicians, to cameramen, to the editors, to the graphers, animators, and students who were worried that they may not have jobs after this pandemic, or maybe during the pandemic, they all got busy. When I wanted to make some films for myself and I invited some of my best students to come back and do something for me, trust me, everyone refused. They said, I'm already working, sir. I don't have time. I'm busy here, I'm busy there. And that gave me an immense satisfaction and pleasure. I mean, obviously we were very sad because of pandemic, but it has brought a new life, a new energy to the whole industry. And not only, mind you, not only the education part, the best part is that every government office, every ministry, every department were looking for a visual media. They were looking for film, television, and media technicians to come forward, teach them the system, teach them how to go ahead, tell them how to operate with the rest of the world. And all these guys who were very well trained and very well familiar with the media activities and social media activities, they got busy, employed, whether on a permanent basis or on a temporary basis or on a ad hoc basis, but they were busy. That's the best thing. We also launched our international festival of cell phone cinema. I'm very happy. Generally, I get around 3,000 to 4,000 entries. This time I got 8,000 entries for our International Festival of Cell Phone Cinema, which was 13th edition actually. And it kept students very busy. I mean, they were making films on mobile, they were clicking pictures through the mobile, and it has actually raised the level of my own festival of cell phone cinema. So I think somewhere down the line, we have suffered definitely because this is one education where you need a lot of emotions. You have to be very close to your student. You have to teach them, because no film, television, and media industry can survive without emotions. So we've been handicapped somewhere. They couldn't be in touch with our students. But it has given me another advantage, because it was very difficult for students to approach a chancellor. But then I opened my window throughout the day and I gave my connecting number to, I say, anyone who would love to talk to me can have a coffee with me, and we can chat, have coffee at our own places, and can discuss whatever you want to discuss as far as your career is concerned.
Okay, great. Very, very interesting perspective around movement to. So you talked about cell phone cinema festival, right? That's really very, very interesting. I think it proved a blessing in disguise. Corona proved blessing in disguise for your institution and the setup. Definitely, sir, the kind of the energy that you've brought in, I'm really happy to see that, and congratulate you all on the success for yourself. You pointed social media and its usage, that you were initially restricting students to rather focus on their studies than accessing Facebook or maybe LinkedIn or Snapchat, etc. But then eventually you had to re-engineer and then tell them that, okay, focus on Facebook or maybe social media then, while you are sitting at home. Social media might have some disadvantages also, and I would request Professor Suku and also Akhil sir to contribute their insights on this. Now, social media, the most of the content on social media, Suku sir, is user generated, right? So you can't really control a lot of it. And if there are some negative reviews, fake reviews, it might hamper the brand equity of an institution or any product for that matter in some or the other way. So how do you see that as a challenge, and are there any advices that you would like to give to marketers on how they can look at controlling this?
Wanting me to address this?
Maybe Akhil sir address this, and then I'll move to you for a different question.
Okay, good. Sorry, I shouldn't move. All right, so look at this way. See, one thing you need to understand is that social media, like fire, is a tool. It can be used for good or bad, right? Now, the thing is that one thing, and I'll tell you what we do for our students, and let's talk about how institutions manage their reputation on social media. So the thing is that the starting point is that we tell our students that, look, please use social media, but first understand what is good quality information and what is bad quality information. So for example, we actually do a lot, as part of our program, we actually do a lot of teaching on learning how to learn, critical thinking. So for example, any new bit of information comes to you, please verify, is it just like a wild theory, or is it actually verified with other mainstream news channels? Can you apply your mind to understand that, number one? So that's one thing, the quality of information that they get. Secondly, the channels that they use. Social media is not just Facebook and Instagram and this thing. Social media actually goes beyond even things like, I actually convince my students to actually create accounts on LinkedIn and actually start looking at professional information, which is relevant for them. Or going into, let's say, other areas where I'll start looking at, let's say, other news. There are a lot of discussion groups which are specialized, which talk about certain aspects about careers which are not on mainstream social media. So for example, some of you may have heard of this site called Pagal Guide, which actually is for MBA students to discuss their careers in various colleges. Again, that is again about live interaction with each other to actually know what's happening in the world of education through an unbiased view from people. So, but when you go back to the other idea of, let's say, how can a college manage their reputation on social media? Now, I know that this is actually quite a common problem for most colleges. I know there are n number of colleges that sort of pack social media, pack Google reviews and social media with their own in-house generated reviews and 5-star. And it sounds, I've always found it really funny is that you can actually make a review is fake because the more elaborate it is, the more likely it's done by your in-house PR team or your social media team. But that said, see, one thing we need to understand is that most students understand that whenever a student is disgruntled and they sort of put a post on social media saying, I had a problem with the admissions here, I had a problem with this teacher here, things like that. You cannot stop that student from speaking, but what you can do is have a very responsive way, like most companies do, is actually respond to the specific complaint. So for example, like if you put a complaint, let's say to Indigo Airlines or let's say to Amazon and say on social media and say, look, they had this problem. These companies make a point to actually respond to the complaint and say, look, yes, okay, we realize that there's a problem. This is how we're resolving it. So at least you show yourself to be very responsive. So my point being is, back to my original thesis, is that you cannot be selling to students. You need to engage students as a brand. You need to start building up a community of people who believe you and trust you. And for that, you need to have very authentic communication to and fro. See, remember one thing, millennials nowadays, they can smell inauthenticity a mile away. If you are fake, they know you're fake, no matter what. The more authentic you are, and frankly, most colleges are not even willing to admit to mistakes. Trust me, most colleges do make mistakes. However, if you're willing to address it and sort it out in a one-to-one manner versus saying, no, we are right and you guys are wrong, that I think itself will build up a certain amount of trust with students and they start realizing, look, the thing is these guys are different. There's not like a standard high and mighty college with like a standard academic Gyani college. This is actually people who care about us and really want to work with us. So I would say seriously, managing social media, be authentic, be responsive, talk to students or talk to people, young people as on a one-to-one basis. Don't be high and mighty and just broadcast stuff. And please understand that most students understand the difference between a fake review and a real review. All right? It's quite common. By the way, I'm sure a lot of colleges are not on Quora. Please get on Quora and start managing a reputation there. There's a lot of stuff being spoken about, all of us, which we tend to ignore out there.
I have points to add to it.
Please, sir.
Number one, if you read the statistics, it is very well researched that the social media has reduced the world aggression by 30%. Because you don't have to fight, you don't have to abuse anyone, you don't have to break the glasses of the neighbor, but you can just go to social media and express yourself and your aggression is over. And so the world aggression has reduced by 30%. So that means there's a huge advantage. Number two, that social media, it is the biggest platform today to express yourself, to train yourself, to practice for yourself, whether it comes to writing or a poetry or it's anything on earth. And it gives you immense pleasure to talk to people instantly and you get response instantly. You know where you are moving to, where you stand today, and whether you are eligible or meant for that particular business or not, this social media teaches you. And third thing is that social media, as very well Dr. Akhil said, but then let me put it in a positive way, that it keeps you on your toes. You have to be the best today. You have to be right and the most correct person. You cannot cheat. You cannot speak lies. You cannot do frauds. You cannot, I mean, it is actually mending the society. There are at least many larger number of the society, people of the society. It's making you so alert. You are so conscious what you're about to write, what you're about to say, what kind of a picture. You have to think 3 times whether, oh my God, I have a glass in my hand. People may not create a wrong perception that I drink a lot. So yeah, how much you have started thinking about your character, about your setup, about your perception. So it is actually somewhere down the line rectify the whole society. Yes, you have 2 sides to a coin, and there are disadvantages which Dr. Akhil has spoken few.
Yeah, I think very rightly pointed out by the both of you. One is that social media, it has user-generated content, so you can't really restrict students to post their opinions and views. but you can definitely engage with them in a very meaningful manner. And second is that it is an open forum for all of us to also learn about ourselves. That we get a lot of feedback. Now, coming to student experience, right, having meaningful discussions. What has been largely seen, especially at many of the institutions who have a lot of volumes in terms of application admissions, they would not really care much about offering a great student experience virtually, right? So there used to be a notion, and there's still a notion that just student को admission लेना वो आ ही जाएगा, right? There's some challenges in terms of content discovery on my website. If it is not mobile responsive, though we are, I think, 600 million internet mobile user population currently, right? So what do you think, Professor Suku, is the opportunity cost of not enabling a great user experience as far as our students are concerned? These students could be the prospects that we have, also the the students who are already studying at our institution.
I will speak to this in
I'm sorry, sir, you're not clearly audible.
I'm not audible. Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Okay, I'll have to move a bit closer then. That's okay. Yeah, there are the two sides in this discussion. Number one, let me first talk about the learning experience. The learning experience, the students and the faculty as well were caught off guard because this is an unexpected and sudden occurrence. Okay, so as some of the earlier speakers said, there was some level of cultural disconnect in the sense that, yes, the audience, the students are about 18 to 20, 22 years old. So yes, they were very technology savvy. But most faculty were also technology savvy, but our student engagement was largely through the traditional mode, traditional classroom mode. And there was this feeling that online engagement did not deliver the learning experience that they got through a classroom-based interaction with their fellow students and also with the instructor. Now, this initially we faced a little bit of concerns like this, and it's not us unique. We are not unique in this because if you look at globally, many universities, including universities such as Cambridge, have come out with expressing that there was problems in the students saying that, look, this online mode of engagement does not give us the Cambridge experience, really, to be on campus to learn. So there were some minor challenges such as that. But over time, we very quickly adopted to a technology means of engaging with students. And as I said, the students were no problem. There was a slight challenges with regard to not having the bandwidth and all of those issues, which we addressed very quickly. And over time, we have all learned from this that there is a lot of benefit in using technology in the teaching, learning, and research space. It's been very good. So we have started to now move down the track of having blended learning, for example. So this has created knowledge for us and the students to say that there are other modes of engagement through which you can, in fact, get a better learning experience than in a formal classroom setting. Just the lecturer just delivering a lecture, and that's the end of it. So we have adjusted to, in fact, even without COVID, we would have gone down this path actually, because we were in discussions of doing things this way now. I don't know whether I'm directly addressing your question, but it's important that I say this, I thought. Number two is that for us, we are a young university, only 7 years old. So compared to some of the other speakers, you've got a long history in the marketplace. So sometimes the youthfulness itself enables greater nimbleness to make changes and get things to be adopted. So that was another benefit we had. Our young age enabled that transition much more easily. Concurrently, of course, the Goenka name is very well known. It's over nearly 25 years they've been in the school area, and therefore that brand name is very well recognized. So we had the branding strength we had now. But going back to the prime discussion in this forum, which I assume is to do with, or at least I was told, is to do with marketing and student recruitment, which is actually not strictly my forte, because I'm a true blue academic, an academic administrator. Therefore, as far as marketing goes, I'll tell you what we did. We had been using technology for engaging with students in regard to admissions and student recruitment and student selection for a very long time. I've been with the university for 3 years now. When I came, they were already doing things like this, so it was not new. So I'll just talk about a few of the technology enablers that we use, and we'll dwell a little bit more. Please give me the time to dwell a little bit more of how we used basic technology to increase learning outcomes or to improve learning outcomes. And to me, that this was a very great experience in that. So what are some of the elementary technologies that we use in terms of marketing and student recruitment? First, I'll talk to that, and then I'll say how we use some very basic technologies through the web page, how we demonstrated both a differentiated advantage or differentiated learning experience that we give to students, and also improve the total learning experience. So social media marketing through platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., that can be accessed through the mobile devices and thereby provide the university on-the-go two-way access to prospective students. This has been there. We have been doing this much. It precedes my time with the university. It's been there all along. We got a very savvy admissions office. They are very good at this. Sometimes, in fact, we have to calm them a little bit. Let's go a bit slower on this. Video marketing, we've been doing that for many, many years now through providing prospective students recorded snippets. I think Dr. Rajita spoke to this, by students, the alumni and academic staff to present the experiences. So there was some form of showing our capabilities through through key constituents, such as the students and the alumni talking about what is it that makes us different. We have been using Google, Facebook, and third-party leads to generate leads and follow up on that. That has been there for a long time. We have been doing this virtually for a very, very long time. We participate in virtual admission fairs, and through these generate leads as well. So we have been using technology quite extensively in our recruitment process. Prospective students have, someone spoke about virtual tours. Yes, we have. If you go into our website, you can effectively go through our entire campus, see our physical infrastructure, see our labs, see the sporting facilities, etc. But most significantly, I would like to talk about what every one of us have, that is the ubiquitous website. All organizations seem to have a website, but we have, especially quite recently, used this to great effect to provide good teaching learning experiences and also showcase our differentiated advantages. Now, so what do we do with this? We show differentiated academic strengths. We showcase our faculty, and we have established a very standardized means of showcasing the strengths of our academic staff. Everybody uses the same template. This is something I pushed and we've adopted. We say, okay, you start by telling us where you earned your qualifications, what area. You tell us what are your primary teaching expertise, what are your research expertise, what are your publications in the last 5 or 8 years. We don't want a historical thing, but last 5 to 8 years. And then what are your extreme capabilities in terms of being a scholar. That means, are you the editorial board of some journal? Have you won awards for teaching and learning? So very brief profile of the faculty was developed, was a standardized profile was developed, and we put it up on the web page. And this produced fascinating responses. But most importantly, what we did in the last 1.5 months, which I haven't so far heard any of the panelists say, and I think you must consider this. What we have done over the last 2-3 years is establish a fabulous link with international universities in terms of good partnerships. So we engage with our partners very actively through the traditional activities such as study abroad and articulate to their universities. But during this period, what we have done is we have got faculty members from our partner institutions to teach into our programs virtually. So across all program areas, they deliver 1 or 2 lectures in each course. So we have had academics from the University of Lancaster, Kent, University of Essex, University of Newcastle. It goes on, a long list of people who deliver a lecture for a course, and therefore this brings in a much more fascinating or engaging learning environment. You're learning from someone who is not traditional here, and the manner in which that engagement takes place, the students found that fascinating, and we are continuing with that. So every course we have 1 or 2 lectures by some faculty from respectable universities worldwide, okay, from good universities worldwide, who are ranked among the top 300 per QS rankings or whatever. We are very selective in that, and that has produced very good responses from the students. They found this to be a fascinating experience. Unlike some other universities around, they have recruited full-time international faculty. So we didn't have to do that. We did this cost-free, but produced very, very good outcomes.
I'm sure that you are going to continue this forever, because earlier the mindset used to be that, okay, somebody from my international partners are going to physically travel to this place and deliver sessions, but due to Corona, you could really implement and bring the use of technology into application and deliver the sessions. I think it's a great learning.
And if I may say, it's also the variety of people who come, because different universities and based on the strength of those universities and the linkages we have created this as a wonderful engagement, and the students are thoroughly enjoying these engagements. Can I continue, or were you trying to say something?
I'll have to move to the next panelist, sir. We are just nearing the end of the session, but you shared some very, very good and deep insights from the management academic side when it comes to use of technology there. And I'm sure it's a great learning for everybody in the audience also. So, and for the audience, as we are nearing the end of the session, so if there are any questions that you would want to post, please use the Q&A section just at the bottom of your screens, and you can point it to any of the panelists. I'll try to take it during or at the end of the session. Now I'll move to my next question. And I would request Rajita ma'am to please address that. Ma'am, a lot of institutions that we also communicate with and have a correspondence with would have some inhibitions to adopt technology, as they fear whether or not they'll be able to utilize it to the core capacity due to lack of bandwidth or manpower. And a lot of them would want to quantify it in terms of ROI. That what is going to be my return on investment if I invest in technology, or this invest technology, that technology. Now, what do you have to suggest or advise them? You are on mute, ma'am.
I don't think it is a binary choice anymore. I mean, if we have to survive, if we have to stay relevant, and if we have to grow to scale, we have to embrace technology. Otherwise, it can, like Dr. Bhaskaran said, we are also a young university. And for some time, sort of manual hybrid sort of arrangements work for you. But if you have to grow to scale, if you have to be sustainable, you have to embrace technology. Yes, you have to definitely look at your capital outlays and look at therefore what is your, what is the pocket that you can afford, and definitely you have to look at ROI. So I don't think it is one or the either. I think it is both. And I think the good thing about being in education today is the number of choices that you have. If you look at even 5 years ago, not to say farther back than that, uh, I don't think the choices were as many as there are today. So it is a great market equalizer. I think it pushes all of us to seek better in terms of services, and the providers to provide higher in terms of what it can do for the customers. So these are questions I'm sure all of us in higher education institutions, as we manage our balance sheets, we have to ask ourselves, what is the best bang for the buck, and take the decision accordingly. But I don't think it is a question of yes or no. It is yes, but how yes? And make it work for you the best. Because sometimes we have seen that solutions that are available in the market, are they 100% applicable, or can you use them for your setup? If yes, great. If not, you have to see how that can be customized for you, what you need to use for your, to make it work for you. Like Kovar Vijendra has a very large rural population of students. Now what works for him, and what are his specific needs, may not work for Dr. Shahani, who's might have a largely urban metropolis population. And we have a combination in Bhubaneswar. We get students from all 28 states of India. In your previous panel, there was someone from the Northeast. We get a good population from Northeast. So, this year during the pandemic, we experienced all challenges of diversity because of bandwidth availabilities, all of that. So we are moving, Suraj, to a phygital way of life. For example, in Odisha now, the government has allowed us to open campuses for the final year students, especially for lab and studio related programs, with consent of parents. But all parents are not comfortable to send the children, but there are some who are. Now we will end up having phygital classes, and our teachers have to step up to that. I think Kuvar Vijendra said also, we are all with a huge population of assistant professor level faculty members who are young, who are up on the take, who are more agile, who are more amenable to embracing change. And then we have senior faculty members who are legends, some of them of their fields, but by the virtue of the age they are, may not be so easy to embrace the changes that are needed. But I don't think we have a choice anymore. And I think that is the beauty, Suraj, of higher education institutions, because we are multi-generational institutions. In every educational institution, we are 4-5 generations of people, working, studying together, teaching, learning. So that is the joy, I think, and that's the beauty of a multi-generational. In your office, I don't think you have 5 generations of people. Maybe you have 2 or 3, but in education you have 5 generations, if not more. And that is the beauty of it. So how the older one can ground you, how the younger one can pull you up, I think it's a fascinating time of the world that we are in. And one of your questions was, I remember what you sent us, across to us, that even without the pandemic, what will continue? And I think this way of life, I don't think we could have participated in so many conferences if there was no pandemic, Suraj, to be honest. We would have done a tenth of that. So does this work for us? Yes, it does. So, I think it has shown us a way of, accelerating and catalyzing our own evolution as humanity, and education is part of that.
Fantastic inputs, ma'am. And that gives me that there's another question in my mind, and I would request Kuvar sir to address that question. Now, Rajita may mentioned that the choices in terms of opting for technology vendors has widened, and the institutions should really do that evaluation that which choice meets their needs the best, right? So, this how or what are those parameters which are must to evaluate parameters which an institution must take a decision that, okay, this is the technology which is going to best meet my need. So, how should an institution go about doing that evaluation? Because there are concerns, right? Like, expertise, there are concerns like data security, there are concerns like, because you're going to base your entire academics or admissions on one platform, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, Suraj. Actually, every educational institute has a life cycle. So when we look at the technology, what technology we need, we have to see what is more important for us, right from admissions to convocation. There is a complete life cycle, and we have to see which has to be integrated with the technology first. What is happening, what technologies are available today, if I look at, they are helping us in our administrative matters. One, they are cutting the cost of administration in many ways. Secondly, it has enhanced our outreach to the world, outer world, be it through social media, be it other admission processing, lead management system, lead segmentation, or data-driven marketing. All those things are there, but challenges are also there, as you mentioned, that security is one of the challenges, which has to be seen very seriously. And there are very few edtech companies, those who are considering about it. In last 10 months, I have met many of them, but very few are talking about the security issue very seriously. Now, if I come to the academic part, if we look at maximum of the LMS or whatever ERP or whatever solutions are available to us, they are addressing only one part of our academic job, that is dissemination of knowledge. And that too, dissemination of information. Whatever is available with us, we are able to conduct the class. But if I look at a university has to do many things more. Before dissemination of knowledge, we have to create the knowledge. And creation of knowledge, we have to see how technology has to get involved in it. Then we have to integrate the knowledge, and that integration of knowledge has to happen with the industry, with the where we will be applying it. And generally what is happening, what technology we are using, industry is not aware of that. And what industry is using, we are not aware of that even now. In spite of the fact we are telling that in last 10 months, we have so much integration with the industry and we are doing, but still somewhere we are separate verticals. Yeah. So it means now solutions, academic solutions have to come, which will help us in more creation of knowledge and integration of knowledge also with the end user. And end user is the industry. This is one. However, some experiments had been done, like if I look at Shobit University, we were in position to conduct, organize some international webinars where like participants were from more than 40 countries. And we were able to create some knowledge out of that. And the same way, like we have 2 series of international webinar happening throughout this pandemic. One we are doing on doubling farmers' income by 2022. Honorable Prime Minister spoke about it. Politically, we discussed about it. But no academic institution, no university thought that we should see how it is possible. And it is possible when academicians, scientists, researchers, technocrats, bureaucrats, and industrialists, they will come and they will share their experiences, their possibilities, that how it is possible. We are doing it continuously. The same way, like when Honorable Prime Minister said, Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have to make. We all were talking about, we said, bhai China ka saman nahi kharidenge, Atmanirbhar ho jayenge. I'm sorry, it is not the way. As an institution, especially institution, those who are technical institution, they have to look beyond that. So what we started a national webinar series that Atmanirbhar Bharat using open source digital technology, which is available to everybody in villages, to everybody. There is no need to buy it. And we found that wonderful things started happening, not only with our students, but with throughout the nation it started happening. We are getting such a feedback out. So technology is helping, but when to select a technology, we have to see that what part of my life journey of my institution, I want to address first. And I am happy that whatever partners we chose, they were able to address very effectively all those parts. And again, I will say there are 3 A's, and I am giving 1 A to no paper technology, also no paper form also. 3 A's which are very important. One is accessibility, second is availability, and third is affordability. At the end, all decisions an entrepreneur will take will depend on all these 3 A's. So thank you.
Great, thanks. So Chandan, popping up on the screen is an indication that we've got last 5 minutes. So Chandan, I'm going to move to concluding remarks. However, before that, I can read Akhil sir's expressions that he also wants to contribute to this question of how should an institution be going about selecting a technology vendor for different aspects. So quickly in 2 minutes, you can just summarize.
Let me flip it over and say that what will make NoPaperForms want to get an institution to select them? So what can you as a technology vendor do to get an institution to select you? Basically, that's really the more important question, right? So let's talk realistically. The thing is that most institution heads know nothing about technology, right? The thing is that frankly, one CRM is actually the same as every other CRM. They all look the same to me. If you have a lot of whiz-bang features, great. I have no idea what they do. So what will basically make me as an institution head look at adopting a technology, right? It goes back to the whole idea of thought leadership and brand. So when I'm going to sort of put you on the spot here, Suraj. When I do a quick search on NoPaperForms on Google, most of the news articles I see are basically about how great the company is, but don't tell me anything about what colleges can do for selling to students. There's no thought leadership that I see online, unfortunately. Maybe there may be number one. Number two, what are the various media outlets that we as educationists read? Are you present on that in terms of telling us how to actually increase our student engagement? And of course, webinars like this are very important, like you said, but don't forget is that unless you have a person online actually knowing this webinar exists and logging in and watching it, yes, but the average person looks at text or let's say short bits of information. So you need to start, most technology vendors, whoever really wants to build up a brand needs to become a thought leader in the specific area that they do. So let me give you an example of HubSpot, which some of you may be familiar with. They do a fantastic job of building up, they're US based, but they do a fantastic job of talking about content marketing. They are the number one for content marketing for companies. They've done it very well. I think most technology vendors need to learn from them. Number two, most colleges, when they implement technology, they very rarely do they actually have the right people to implement their technology. They have people, but they're trying to adapt non-techies to a technology-based platform. Very few colleges have a strong tech team in-house. So you need, as a vendor, need to start doing a lot of hand-holding to make sure that we actually can adopt it well. Because I've seen too many vendors, not you guys, but other vendors where they say, okay, here's the technology, it's a SaaS product, we're not going to do much effort, you guys discover yourself. We'll give you a couple of phone calls, that's it, but we're not going to do a lot of hand-holding. Most colleges would need a lot of hand-holding to make sure that technology can be implemented, not just hand-holding in 1 month, but over a year, 2 years. Be a solution provider, don't be a technology vendor. So 2 points, become a thought leader in the area of what you're doing, and secondly, strong hand-holding for most of us. Trust me, if you do that well, most institutions will pick you up very quickly.
Great insights. But I would request you to not search us on Google. Go to nopaperforms.com, right? And there is a section of NoPaperForms Academy. Just browse that for a while. You learn that what kind of a thought leadership that we are trying to create. Google would throw a lot of content that there's a lot of free PR that we have got. But also in that PR, there's one statement you will find constant, which says that the company is because of the clients that it has. Right, so we are highly indebted because the clients in today, 400 plus institutions are there, and people like Rajita ma'am and Shekhar sir, and
I agree. I'm not arguing at the end of the long session, but I'm just saying that basically the thing is most of the content that you have is basically how great the company is. It doesn't give me useful information how I can use technology to market to students outside. That sort of thing is really useful for me. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a feedback taken. I think that's not yet publicized aggressively. But if you go to Academy section of NPF, then you would be able to find some relevant content. And please give us feedback, sir. We would like to improve that. We are very, very nascent. Rajita ma'am was talking about that you might have 3 generations. We only have 2. The oldest in the organization is 44, and that's the finance guy that we have. So, Sandeep, sir, you want to contribute something?
Whatever my colleagues have said, very well said. Digitalization is there. the techniques are going to be there. Systems, they'll keep on changing. I mean, but there is one thing which is very important, which every institution, and it is very important to speak today, especially because it's a National Youth Day. Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar program must be introduced to every education setup. Very important. Prime Minister speaks about self-reliant and self-sufficient, but I have given a very special definition to Atmanirbhar, especially for education industry. The A stands for you have to be ambitious, T stands for tough, M stands for motivation, A stands for attitude, N stands for nationalist, I stands for information, R stands for responsible, B stands for belief, H stands for humility, A stands for aggressive, and R stands for result oriented. And this is what every institution has to really take care of. And I think it's very important for all our students to take Atmanirbhar program very seriously.
Fantastic. I never knew the abbreviation of Atmanirbhar earlier, but
okay,
it's fantastic. Yeah, go on, sir, please.
Suraj, like Dr. Sandeep has said very nicely. So I will just like to say, in our Vedas, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I'm the creator. And this is what Atmanirbhar is all about. So the day we realize that Aham Brahmasmi, be it institution, be it individual, the thing start and we become Atmanirbhar. So it was indeed a pleasure to be with you today. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be with everybody. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Namaskar to you, ma'am. We've got good concluding remarks. Suku sir, if you want to give some concluding remarks, we are just ending the session now.
The meetings I've got to go for, so I will leave. So that all I can say is that, yes, some of the points that the colleague said is very true. How do you select a vendor in a crowded marketplace like this? It's credibility of the product and knowledge of the product, whether they articulate as a salesperson or they are articulating the value of the product as from the customer's perspective. I think this is not often being done. And many of them, we often ask when they come to us, who are your clients? Inevitably, they mention the same names, the same sort of universities using them. So we go through the process of doing some checks, and that's very critical to us. And many of the organizations that are now bringing along technology solutions, it's essentially an outcome of the situation we are in. And therefore, there hasn't been a track record, sufficient track record in this, you know what I mean? And therefore, when you check, and if there are concerns, you begin to be very wary as to whether you can go along with this group or not. So I think the important thing is the trust that you develop in prospective partners. And that is just not purely adopting a very sales approach, and rather than you should really provide technology solutions that showcase the product.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for the inputs, everybody. It was a pleasure, rather an honor for me to be moderating this panel. I had a lot of learnings, a lot of shares and shairis also have written. I'm going to use that in the following webinars that I'm going to attend as a panelist or as a moderator. Thank you for all the energy and for all the insights that you've brought in. I'm really honored, right? I'm really very, very glad. So over to you, Chandan.
So yeah, thanks, Suraj. In fact, a wonderful moderation done by you. So handling these gurus and eminent personalities from the education and academia is not an easy, task. But definitely you come out to excel in every aspect whenever you come as a moderator for these kind of webinars. And definitely, sir, as we have all witnessed that in such situation, it was never possible we'll be meeting so frequently and still we have so much of stuff to talk about. बहुत सारी बातें, मतलब if again we meet in another say 7 days, still we gather so much of information and so much of content to speak in another webinars. So it is happening. So this is a kind of a learning. So though the COVID must have accelerated the kind of, the reach, response, the use of technology to an optimum level. Everybody has been excelled to everybody, not only students, their parents, our teachers, In fact, the non-teaching faculties, the teaching faculties, everybody. And we are blessed that we do have the technology partners with us, but obviously there has been a kind of outcome to this event. Let us strategize and look as these technology partners as the best solution providers. We should be very upfront and open to share and discuss our problem areas so that they are in a position to answer it pretty well. Let it be related to cost, the efficiency, the services which they provide, how user friendly it is, and let us come up with a customized solution, because every city, every university in every level would have a kind of different problem and challenges they would be facing. Let it be from the enrollment, somebody would be looking for a kind of a brand opportunity, visibility, and whatnot. So we are so glad to have you all, speakers coming and scheduling your busy schedule. And you thought that this, session should be addressed. Hence, we made this a very unique, a very niche session. It was been named as a founder summit. I don't know if this name was been, coined before. And I guess we are the first time and being pioneer in organizing this founder summit. Thank you so much, NoPaperForms, for supporting us, helping us. So with all this encouragement, we in ASMA as a team, we get motivated to come up with such kind of ideas again after, because again, agar isi tarah se webinar hote rahega, it will become so, stabilized. So we keep on experimenting the same stuff. We are using the best of the technology. I expect my technology partners and the eminent speakers do guide us, suggest us with all your comments and your feedback so that we keep on changing, and we should come up with the best solutions which you people will be finding suitable to be offered in such eConnect platform. So happy National Youth Day to everybody. I wish you all the best, Rajita ma'am, for your new book, The Unknown Edge. It is getting publicity across the channels, and you are being a bestseller of Amazon. It is a proud moment to use that even a sentence, the bestseller of Amazon.
Yes,
Definitely.
thank you. It is for me also. It is, in this category. It is my first such publication.
Would you like to talk a little about the book, ma'am, for a minute?
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to take people's time, but since you said it is a book about my mystical journey of self-realization. It is my book about. It is a book about my life on the spiritual path as my transition from being a banker to an educator today, and about various experiences. Which are relevant for the youth, which are relevant, I think, for all multi-generational, all generations. And I am very humbled that even before the launch, we are going to launch it in a couple of days. It is a #1 bestseller in the true account category in Amazon. So I'm grateful for all your good wishes and blessings. And I know that, this pandemic has made all of us ask very life relevant questions to ourselves. What is the value of our life? Why are we alive? What is the purpose of our life? We've seen people around us just dropping like 9 pins, and I think this it is also a divine coincidence that it's coming at this time. So I have recognized, and as will so many of you are more senior than me, in our life, even in our tough times, we know that some power carries us through. Something is overseeing us, something is pushing us through, uplifting us. And that is something I have, I choose to always look at the positive side. So I think reading this book will uplift everybody, will fill you with positivity, and reinforce the power of hope and faith. So I'm so happy that you let me speak 2 minutes. Thank you for listening about it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Looking forward to get that book in my library. It'll be fantastic.
Yes.
So Chandan, should we conclude? Akhil sir, I'm going to come to meet you in person. Please give me a lot of feedback. Let me know what we do better.
Anytime. Happy to help out.
Confirmation. I'm confirming it to you. I'll come. I'm going to come over. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Stay safe. Stay tuned. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.